Good morning everyone. السيد نائب رئيس المجلس الاقتصادي والاجتماعي، السيدة نائب رئيس الجمعية العامة، السيدة نائب الأمين العام للأمم المتحدة، السيد الأمين العام المساعد للتنمية الاقتصادية، أصحاب السعادة الوزراء الموقرون، المندوبون الموقرون، السيدات والسادة، نعلن افتتاح الجلسة الثانية من الدورة 57 للجنة التنمية الاجتماعية. أرحب بكم جميعا ترحيبا حارا هذا الصباح. والآن أدعو اللجنة إلى توجيه اهتمامها إلى البند أولا من جدول أعمالها المؤقت، وهو انتخاب أعضاء المكتب والشروع في انتخاب رئاسة اللجنة. لعل اللجنة تود أن تستذكر أنه وفقاً لمبدأ التناوب الجغرافي العادل بين المجموعات الإقليمية الخمس، فإن الدور للدول الأفريقية لتولي رئاسة الدورتين 57 و58. ويذكر أيضاً أعضاء اللجنة أنه قد تم خلال الجلسة الأولى من الدورة 57 للجنة التنمية الاجتماعية المعقودة في 7 شباط فبراير 2018 تأجيل انتخاب رئاسة اللجنة للدورة 57. وفي مذكرة شفوية ومؤرخة في 28 كانون الثاني يناير 2019 وردت من رئاسة اللجنة لشهر كانون الثاني يناير 2019 أيدت مجموعة الدول الأفريقية ترشيح سعادة السيد شيخ نيانك الممثل الدائم للسنغال لدى الأمم المتحدة لرئاسة الدورة 57 للجنة. وفي غياب أي ترشيحات أخرى، هل لي أن أعتبر أن اللجنة ترغب في أن تنتخب بالتزكية سعادة السيد شيخ نيانك من السنغال رئيسا للدورة 57 للجنة التنمية الاجتماعية؟ إني لا أسمع أي اعتراض وقد تقرر ذلك. ومن دواعي سروري الآن أن أعلن سعادة السيد الشيخ نيانك الممثل الدائم للسنغال لدى الأمم المتحدة رئيساً للدورة 57 للجنة التنمية الاجتماعية، وأن أدعوه إلى شغل مقعده على المنصة.
Monsieur le vice-président du Conseil économique et social, Madame la vice-présidente de l'Assemblée générale, Madame la vice-secrétaire générale des Nations unies, Mesdames et Messieurs les ministres, Mesdames les représentants, Messieurs les représentants, Mesdames et Messieurs, c'est un honneur pour moi d'avoir été élu à la présidence de la 57e session de la Commission du développement social et je suis heureux de vous inviter à commencer les travaux de fond de cette session. Votre présence témoigne de la pertinence de cette commission et du travail qu'elle accomplit. Vos délibérations contribuent à l'examen annuel de la mise en œuvre des orientations issues du Sommet mondial pour le développement social. Elles contribuent également aux travaux du Forum politique de haut niveau pour le développement durable et à la réalisation du programme de développement durable à l'horizon 2030. Avant de laisser nos invités s'exprimer devant la Commission, je voudrais évoquer brièvement l'importance du thème prioritaire de cette année. Je cite, « Lutter contre les inégalités et les obstacles à l'inclusion sociale au moyen des politiques budgétaires et salariales et des politiques de protection sociale. » Fin de citation. Mesdames et Messieurs, l'adoption du programme de développement durable à l'horizon 2030 a propulsé la protection sociale et la lutte contre les inégalités au premier rang des priorités gouvernementales de tous les pays. Cela est dans une large mesure dû au fait que les inégalités sont l'un des défis majeurs de notre époque, tout comme les changements climatiques, les catastrophes naturelles, les migrations, l'évolution rapide des technologies et les conflits. Ces défis sont à bien des égards corrélés et exigent une coopération internationale. Les inégalités sociales et économiques se sont creusées entre les pays comme en leur sein, de façon particulièrement préoccupante. De plus en plus d'éléments montrent que les inégalités de revenus s'aggravent dans de nombreux pays, tandis que les inégalités sociales persistent, qu'il s'agisse de l'accès à un emploi décent, à une éducation de qualité et aux soins de santé ou aux moyens de production tels que la terre et le crédit. Ces inégalités croissantes sont ainsi devenues la cause d'un malaise profond dans de nombreuses sociétés. L'incapacité à réduire les fortes inégalités provoque un affaiblissement du lien social et émousse la confiance qu'accordent les populations à leur gouvernement et aux institutions internationales. Cette incapacité attise également les tensions sociales et politiques. Trop de nos concitoyens et de nos concitoyennes sont encore contraints de vivre dans l'extrême pauvreté. Beaucoup d'entre eux n'ont pas eu accès aux fruits de la croissance économique, ce qui vient rappeler qu'une croissance dictée par le marché ne peut à elle seule garantir que personne ne soit laissé pour compte. La montée des inégalités doit donc être l'affaire de tous, car elle étouffe la croissance économique et compromet l'avènement de sociétés inclusives où les richesses sont partagées. Plus important encore, la promesse de ne laisser personne de côté, qui est au cœur du programme 2030, ne pourra pas être tenue tant que tous les pays ne s'engageront pas à remédier au problème des inégalités. Mesdames et Messieurs les représentants, les débats de la Commission doivent non seulement mettre en lumière les conséquences des inégalités sur les populations et les communautés, mais également porter sur les politiques budgétaires et salariales et les politiques de protection sociale qui ont donné les meilleurs résultats en matière de réduction des inégalités et d'inclusion sociale. Les gouvernements et les institutions doivent impérativement changer leur manière de penser et d'agir. Le progrès n'est possible que si les revenus de l'État sont suffisants pour financer l'investissement dans les services publics, l'aide sociale et les infrastructures qui contribuent à promouvoir l'égalité des chances. Les progrès que nous voulons doivent s'appuyer sur une croissance inclusive, durable et équitable. Il est en outre indispensable d'améliorer l'accès à des perspectives sociales et à des infrastructures et services essentiels de qualité si nous voulons ne laisser personne ni aucun pays de côté et venir en aide aux plus défavorisés. La protection sociale est au cœur de la façon dont cette commission envisage le partage des richesses, l'équité et la justice sociale, et la lutte contre l'exclusion systématique des plus défavorisés et des plus vulnérables. Nous devrions tous voir la protection sociale comme un investissement et non comme une dépense. Mesdames, Messieurs les représentants, la Commission est également chargée de promouvoir la poursuite de la concertation mondiale sur les questions de développement social, notamment les questions nouvelles qui ont une incidence sur la promesse faite dans le programme 2030 de ne laisser personne de côté. Je me félicite donc des questions prioritaires qui seront traitées lors des 4 tables rondes de haut niveau prévues cette semaine. La première de ces tables rondes aura lieu cet après-midi même sur le thème prioritaire de notre session. Elle sera l'occasion d'un dialogue consacré aux politiques et aux stratégies qui ont donné de bons résultats en termes de réduction des inégalités et des multiples obstacles auxquels se heurtent celles et ceux qui vivent dans la pauvreté et la précarité. La deuxième table ronde est un forum ministériel sur la protection sociale et il aura lieu le mardi 12 février au matin. La troisième, une table ronde de haut niveau consacrée au thème questions nouvelles, réduire les inégalités en donnant des moyens d'agir aux personnes touchées par des catastrophes naturelles et anthropiques, tenir compte des conséquences particulières qu'ont ces catastrophes pour les personnes handicapées, les personnes âgées et les jeunes. Cette table ronde se tiendra le mercredi 13 février au matin. Enfin, la quatrième table ronde, qui prendra la forme d'un dialogue interactif sur le thème prioritaire avec des hauts fonctionnaires de l'ONU, aura lieu dans l'après-midi du mercredi 13 février. La Commission sera également saisie de questions ayant trait aux dimensions du nouveau partenariat pour le développement de l'Afrique, NEPAD, ainsi qu'à la situation des personnes handicapées et des jeunes. Mesdames, Messieurs les représentants, nous avons devant nous une tâche difficile et importante et je sais pouvoir compter sur la participation active de toutes les délégations, organisations de la société civile et entités du système des Nations Unies dans cet effort. Notre commission est investie d'une mission essentielle, fournir au Conseil économique et social et aux États membres des avis d'experts documentés, intéressants et d'une grande précision technique, assortis de recommandations concrètes et pragmatiques qui aideront les États membres à préparer leurs examens nationaux volontaires. Nous devons aller de l'avant et prendre des mesures ambitieuses afin que le programme de travail de notre commission reste pertinent et contribue de façon concrète et efficace aux travaux du Conseil économique et social et du Forum politique de haut niveau, notamment au débat consacré à l'intégration. J'attends donc avec intérêt les délibérations de la Commission et je compte sur votre soutien dans l'amélioration de nos travaux. Je suis ouvert à toutes les suggestions et idées novatrices qui permettraient de rendre notre commission plus pertinente et plus visible. Je vous remercie et me réjouis par avance de cette session qui sera, j'en suis sûr, très productive. J'ai maintenant le plaisir d'inviter le vice-président du Conseil économique et social, son Excellence M. Valentin Rybakov, du Bélarus, à faire une déclaration au nom de la présidente du Conseil économique et social, à sa session de 2019, Son Excellence Madame Inga Ronda King. Monsieur l'ambassadeur, vous avez la parole.
Thank you very much. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the President of ECOSOC, it is my honor to join you at the opening of the 57th Mission for Social Development. This year is indeed critical for the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. The July HLPF will take place between the 9th and the 18th of July under the theme Empowering People and Ensuring Inclusiveness and Equality. There are 6 Sustainable Development Goals under review this year: SDG 4 on quality education, SDG 8 on economic growth and decent work, SDG 10 on inequalities, SDG 13 on climate action, SDG 16 on peaceful societies and robust institutions, and SDG 17 on the means of implementation. We welcome the theme for this Commission for Social Development, addressing challenges to inequality through fiscal, wage, and social protection policies, which is aligned with the theme of the HLPF. Inequality is becoming the defining issue of our time, as we have heard just now from our chair this morning, and DESA reports have highlighted that where people are born and where they live have a strong influence on their lifelong opportunities. Income inequality has increased in the last 3 decades in a majority of developed countries and some large emerging economies, although it has declined in most countries of Latin America and the Caribbean, and in many African countries. Health disparities remain high, and disparities in education are also enduring. For example, in developing countries, children in the lowest 20% of the income distribution are 3 times less likely than those in wealthier households to have been delivered by skilled health personnel, nearly 3 times more likely to be underweight, and twice as likely to die before their 5th birthday. These figures show that the world is currently moving in the wrong direction. A world in which extreme wealth coexists with extreme poverty is a world of strife. It is not possible to achieve social cohesion and inclusive societies under these conditions. And it is not possible to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals under these conditions either. Therefore, it is very important that you, the members of this Commission, advise us all about the necessary actions required for the world to alter course and to move towards shared wealth and prosperity. The social dimension of sustainable development is a key pillar as it speaks directly to people's lives. Excellencies, we are strongly committed to strengthening the role of ECOSOC in guiding the work of our subsidiary bodies to enhance their contribution to implementing the 2030 Agenda. We are also committed to strengthening the role of the functional commissions, including the Commission for Social Development, in the work of the United Nations. A strong and effective Commission for Social Development is critical in strengthening the social dimensions of sustainable development, and also critical to the success of the high-level political forum. Since its inception, the HLPF has provided a platform for sharing experiences, including successes, challenges, and lessons learned. It has also created a new space for political leadership, substantive policy guidance, and recommendations for the implementation of sustainable development in all its dimensions. The HLPF is inspiring sustainable development policies across the board. It aims to ensure that the 2030 Agenda remains relevant and ambitious and focuses on the assessment of progress, achievements, and challenges faced by all countries. During the July session, 51 countries are planning to present voluntary national reviews. The success of the July HLPF will be critical for the HLPF summit in September, when world leaders will review overall progress on the 2030 Agenda and all 17 SDGs. This is why the ACSOC President has made it her priority to have the most successful HLPF to date under the auspices of ACSOC. We look forward to receiving recommendations from your Commission to inform our discussions in July. I wish you a successful Commission, and I thank you all for your kind attention. Thank you.
Je remercie le vice-président du Conseil. J'ai maintenant le plaisir d'inviter la vice-présidente de l'Assemblée générale, Son Excellence Madame Alia Ahmed Saïf Al-Thani du Qatar, à faire une déclaration au nom de la présidente de l'Assemblée générale à sa 73e session, Son Excellence Madame Maria Fernanda Espinosa Garcés. Madame l'ambassadrice, vous avez la parole.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor for me to deliver these opening remarks on behalf of the President of the General Assembly, Her Excellency Maria Fernanda Espinosa Garcés. As she has remarked, the 2030 Agenda is a jewel of multilateralism. It raised the expectations of the whole world to have a better future for all. At a time when multilateralism is facing headwinds, it is imperative that we demonstrate that multilateralism constitutes the best and only way to address the global challenges that stand in the way of sustainable development. First and foremost, this means we must deliver on the central goal of the 2030 Agenda of eradicating poverty everywhere, as well as its principle of leaving no one behind. How does the priority theme of the Commission addressing inequality and challenges to social exclusion through fiscal, wage, and social protection policies impact those left behind? These are the people who lack opportunities to participate in and benefit from development progress. Often they are excluded due to their gender, age, disability, indigenous, or migratory status. They endure isolation and vulnerability due to their place of residence, or face disadvantage due to inequitable policies, institutions, and law. Many face income and food insecurity and are disproportionately found in the informal economy. And unfortunately, they have less chances to benefit from quality education and healthcare, as well as adequate social protection. The evidence shows that the extension of pensions has been the most notable advance in expanding social protection in recent decades, with close to 68% of older persons receiving a pension in 2016, yet only 28% of persons with severe disabilities receive disability benefits. Only 35% of children enjoyed social protection, and just 22% of unemployed workers received unemployment benefits. Those at risk of being furthest behind are more vulnerable to the impacts of climate change, natural hazards, violence, conflict, and displacement. They are disconnected from accountable institutions and are not consulted by those in power. They are not counted in official data. They are invisible. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the 2030 Agenda recognized that without a paradigm shift on sustainable development, the furthest behind will continue to be locked out of the global progress, unable to benefit from or participate in the global economy or frontier technologies. Without urgent action to address inequalities, progress will continue to fall short of our ambitions. 2019 presents a historic moment for the high-level political forum, which will be convened this year for the first time under the auspices of both the ECOSOC in July and the General Assembly in September. The Summit of Heads of States and Governments in September will review overall progress on the 2030 Agenda, raise political momentum at the highest level, and mobilize further action to realize the goals. We have a unique opportunity to get back on track with implementation. This must recognize the need for a comprehensive and complementary implementation of the 2030 Agenda and related agreements, such as the Paris Climate Agreement and the Addis Ababa Action Agenda. The Commission for Social Development must provide a strong and powerful contribution to both the ECOSOC High-Level Political Forum in July and the High-Level Political Forum in September, with concrete policy advice and key messages on the social pillar of sustainable development. Your focus on how countries can leverage fiscal, wage, and social protection policies to address inequalities and challenges to social inclusion is therefore timely. The President of the General Assembly is mandated to convene a high-level thematic debate on inclusive development and inequality within and among countries on May 14, 2019, which shares the theme of the current session of the Commission. I am confident that the high-level thematic debate will build upon your discussion over the coming days and contribute to relevant review at the high-level political forum. Ladies and gentlemen, our efforts to revitalize the work of the General Assembly, as mandated by General Assembly Resolution 72/313, aims to make the United Nations relevant for all. In this regard, the Assembly has once again reaffirmed through its Resolution 72/305 of last June the need for a more effective ECOSOC as a principal organ for coordination, policy review, policy dialogue, and recommendations on issues of economic and social development. The resolution calls for the balanced integration of the three dimensions of sustainable development: social, economic, and environment. Your Commission is at the core of this vision, to place people at the center of development. I look forward to the outcome of your work and wish you all a most productive session. And I thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Je remercie la vice-présidente de l'Assemblée générale de cette déclaration. La prochaine oratrice est la vice-secrétaire générale de l'Organisation des Nations Unies, Son Excellence Madame Amina Mohamed. Et je voudrais saisir l'occasion pour la saluer, mais aussi pour la féliciter pour la très grande compétence et le bel engagement qu'elle déploie au service de notre organisation et aux côtés du secrétaire général. Madame Mohamed, vous avez la parole.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor on behalf of the Secretary General to welcome you to the 57th session of the Commission of Social Development. And I take this opportunity to humbly congratulate Senegal on their election as chair of the 57th session of the CSD. I also would like to say I'm deeply appreciative of the presence of this huge crowd that is here today, especially those of you that are coming from very far places for this important forum that feeds into many, many important discussions throughout the year. This year's theme, focusing on inequality, social inclusion and protection policies, highlights the critical aspect of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. The numbers paint a stark picture. Income inequality has risen in nearly all countries since 1980, and an estimated 1.3 billion people living in multidimensional poverty. And according to the UN's World Economic Situation and Prospects report issued last month, the working poor number at least 300 million, and sadly, many of them not in decent work. The concentration of income and wealth, coupled with the impacts of globalization and rapid technological change, has led to economic anxiety, exclusion, and a decline in governments and public institutions. Allow me to highlight just three areas that I would see for action. First, increasing public investment in critical sectors. This will require aligning global financial and economic policies with the 2030 Agenda, as well as promoting sustainable financial systems at the national level that accelerate public investment in the Sustainable Development Goals. Reforms aimed at improving tax administration, strengthening domestic budgets are critical to promote more progressive, gender-sensitive taxation for enhancing education, health, infrastructure, and social protection systems. Policies that curb illicit financial flows, improve tax transparency, and counter profit shifting will also be essential. And these are not new. Again and again, we have reiterated this at many of the forums on financing for development. Innovative financing mechanisms can also help to unlock new investments in priority sectors, for example, clean energy and the livelihoods of smallholder farmers. Across these efforts, our aim must be to raise revenues rather than cut productive social expenditures. It is equally essential that governments assess the possible adverse aspects of austerity policies while maximizing the benefits. I've just come from a meeting of the World Government Summit in Dubai, and many governments there expressing a need to really find different ways of responding to many of these challenges and changing the way that we do our business. The second point is addressing wage growth and wage inequality. Achieving equal pay for work of equal value is crucial to reduce inequality. The Decent Work Agenda points the way towards greater equality of income and opportunity. It calls for full and productive employment, rights at work, social protection, and the promotion of social dialogue. This is enabling access to all to decent work that will greatly reduce all forms of inequality and ensure future of work with freedom, dignity, economic security, and equality. While unemployment rates have fallen since the Great Recession, wage growth has stagnated. And this means that the contribution of wages to reducing inequality and promoting social inclusion remains weak, as women, youth, older persons, persons with disabilities, indigenous groups, and migrant workers continue to experience wage discrimination. Moreover, while there has been some progress, the gender pay gap, about 20% globally, remains unacceptably high. This is one of today's greatest manifestations of social injustice and globalization, leaving many behind. Wage stagnation is not inevitable. It is the direct result of public policy choices in favor of a few. Policymakers can address wage stagnation by prioritizing full employment and decent work, addressing the increasing financialization of the economy and excessive executive pay growth, while protecting labour standards, including workers' ability to bargain for fair wages. Effective minimum wages can also help spur wage growth and reduce inequality. Third, strengthening social protection. Under the 2030 Agenda, governments have agreed to implement nationally appropriate social protection systems and measures for all, including our protection floors. The emphasis placed on social protection in the 2030 Agenda follows efforts by the UN system to assist countries in confronting the global financial crisis. The United Nations System's Chief Executives Board for Coordination launched the Social Protection Floor Initiative, which was later endorsed by the Rio +20 Conference on Sustainable Development and supported by the G20 and other forums. There is increased recognition that social protection floors contribute to preventing or alleviating poverty, vulnerability, and social exclusion, while still promoting inclusive growth. Universal social protection will also allow workers and their families to better navigate the labour markets at a time of rapid change. It is encouraging that in 2012, ILO member states unanimously adopted the recommendation concerning national floors of social protection, committing to guarantee a basic level of protection for all residents and especially children. Yet significant coverage gaps remain. Worldwide, some 4 billion people, including 1.3 billion children, live without any social protection. The UN Development System is strongly committed to supporting countries in closing these gaps. Indeed, the issue has been increasingly prioritized by our own UN country teams, many of which have formed social protection floor teams or have prepared development assistance frameworks that prioritize the development of social protection. I encourage our teams and international financial institutions to collaborate a lot more closely to provide integrated policy advice on financing options and opening up that fiscal space for extending social protection coverage and to scale up prevention initiatives. I would like to recognize the work done in this regard by the IMF. I would also like to reiterate the emphasis that was made by the Chair this morning by talking about the importance of putting a focus on investments and not just expenditure. This is, after all, not charity, but one of those investments that serves the rights of our people. To further foster delivery, the ILO, UNICEF, UNDP, and UNHCR recently developed a UN joint fund window for social protection floors. The ongoing initiative of the Secretary-General to develop a UN system-wide policy and action plan on disability inclusion will also complement these efforts. Ladies and gentlemen, we have great expectations for the Commission on Social Development. This Commission is well positioned to forge inclusive paths for sustainable development and to recalibrate the social contract so that we can respond to today's changing societies. Commissions should also align their work for better efficiency and provide the support to a reinvigorated ECOSOC. The Secretary-General and I look forward to continuing to support Member States in our shared work to leave no one behind. And may I actually put out a call? This year, the General Assembly will be full of platforms on critically important issues, from climate change to the Universal Health Agenda, to the first stock-taking on the Sustainable Development Goals, the financing for development, and ending where it should appropriately, addressing the Samoa pathway on those that are the most vulnerable in our countries and being so far left behind. We look forward to the robust outcomes that we hope to get from this Commission and take that forward into the GA this year. I thank you.
Je remercie la vice-secrétaire générale de sa déclaration. J'invite maintenant le président du comité des ONG pour le développement social, M. Daniel Perel, à faire une déclaration. M. Perel, vous avez la parole.
Thank you, and good morning. Mr. Chair, Madam Deputy Secretary General, distinguished delegates, we gather at a time of growing dissatisfaction with the prevailing economic order. Signs of a fraying social fabric abound, regardless of cultural or national context. Long-standing institutions are straining in the face of a shifting world order. In the midst of these transitions, growing proportions of humanity have seen their circumstances stagnate or decline. In response, many governments implement various austerity measures or turn to the private sector to fill the gaps. But it is precisely at these moments when the vital role of governments must come to the fore most strongly. A state's fiscal, wage, and social protection policy can significantly reduce inequality and promote social inclusion. The NGO Committee for Social Development therefore commends the Commission for its choice of priority theme and has put forward a draft civil society declaration, which will be finalized at the Civil Society Forum on Friday, to which you are all warmly invited. Distinguished colleagues, as previous speakers have mentioned, we are able to articulate many of the symptoms of an ailing global order. Yet root causes remain unspoken. Opportunities today are largely dependent on the happenstance of birth, but the reality of our equality in dignity and rights requires that such chance should no longer be determinative. Multitudes are marginalized on the basis of their diverse identities. Millions have taken to the streets seeking health care, education, and other forms of social justice, to which the world agreed over 70 years ago and which were reaffirmed in Copenhagen. Truly, there is much that should hurt the heart of any just observer. Yet what was once a problem of scarcity, of food, of knowledge, of resources, has now become a question of ensuring that the benefits of advancement are shared by all. And the NGO Committee is optimistic that this Commission, should it so choose, could become a leading center of learning about how inequality can be meaningfully reduced. The ECOSOC functional commissions are meant to contribute to Agenda 2030, and this Commission would do well to focus on the social dimension of that agenda, alongside one or two central sustainable development goals. But from among the many with relevance to the Copenhagen Declaration, we suggest once again that SDG 10, with its critical focus on inequality, be at the heart of this Commission's deliberations. There are also elements of the Copenhagen Declaration which require greater attention than they are given in Agenda 2030. Foremost among these is social integration, as well as the related concept of social cohesion, which pairs inclusiveness with the willingness of members of a society to cooperate in order to prosper. These are critical issues. Societies around the globe are being assailed by a crisis of identity as groups struggle to define themselves, their place in the world, and how they should act. Permutations of us and them define identities ever more narrowly, competing ideologies and power struggles multiply. Yet increasing numbers, particularly the young, cry out for societies that are more unified, just, and civil. Drawing on these aspirations, which can be heard in all corners of the world, will bolster a sense of shared identity and common purpose, which is vital to the contemporary development agenda. Social cohesion is not solely an objective of development, it is a driver of it. And for this reason, the NGO Committee recommends that next year's priority theme include a focus on social cohesion. Mr. Chair, the conversation we are having today takes place at a specific moment in history. We are struggling with the tension between a global order built on the interests of numerous constituent parts and the reality that our collective destiny is bound together more profoundly than merely the sum of these parts. What is required now is a vision of a world that genuinely reflects the oneness of humankind in all its richness, diversity, and depth. The realization of such a vision will require sooner or later a historic feat of statesmanship from the leaders of the world. Next year's milestones of the 75th anniversary of the founding of the UN and the 25th anniversaries of both the Beijing Platform for Action and the Copenhagen Declaration on Social Development offer important moments of sober reflection. Much work is still to be done. Taking the needed steps forward will require ambition, dedication, and a recommitment to the spirit of selfless service that drew so many of us to the United Nations in the first place. But summoning the common will of humanity is possible today in ways that were undreamt of in previous ages. And it is in this light that civil society stands ready to lend whatever assistance it can. I thank you.
Je remercie le président du comité des ONG pour le développement social de sa déclaration. Je donne maintenant la parole à Madame Régine Guevara, représentante de la jeunesse, qui va faire une déclaration. Madame Régine Guevara, vous avez la parole.
Good morning, Chair, Deputy Secretary General, and distinguished guests. Peaceful morning to all. My name is Regine, and I'm from the Committee for Asean Youth, and we are speaking on behalf of the UN Major Group for Children and Youth, which is a General Assembly mandated space for young people at the United Nations. Since 1992, with Agenda 21, we have brought a focus to many dimensions of social inequality. And we realize that for the past decade or two, the world has changed dramatically. We have progressed on many fronts, but we have also experienced a lot of setbacks. Among the most glaring has been 1, climate change, and 2, social inequality. Social inclusion has been seriously regressed upon by many, including the most privileged of countries and individuals. What can be an attack to our very core values as an institution, our moral responsibility to all of mankind? Universality, equity, internalism. First, let us reinforce the fact that the world and its complex interdependent systems should only be navigated through an ever-expanding room of empowered stakeholders. The very fact that we are present here today in the space that you have shared with everyone in this room and those beyond this room is a testament to the many talents and interests that are dedicated to this institution. Having said this, let us reinstate that a paradigm of globalization that promotes free flow of capital and goods, but not of people, is inherently programmed to leave the least fortunate behind. What of the 68.5 million people around the world who have been forced to flee their homes, over half of whom are under the age of 18? In search for safety, they enter blindly into a different form of isolation, a voracious economy where they have to compete with the less privileged of our local workers for the worst of jobs. How do we stimulate economic growth and development while enhancing universal access to human rights? We would like to introduce a dimension often ignored in this conversation. Growth for the sake of growth is the mentality of a cancerous cell. Having an honest conversation of how economic growth and efficiency can improve the lives of people has to include discussions on economic sufficiency and planned degrowth. The Earth is finite with fundamental planetary boundaries, and we have to develop a system that makes humanity thrive within these boundaries. In simpler words, our message is this: we need to learn to collectively share our resources. In the spirit of the next session, let us also talk about the topic of taxation. We need a tax regime that is people-centered and planet-sensitive. Tax and expenditure policies can lead to social inclusion under the following conditions. First, when they do not adversely target social groups through discriminatory provisions. Second, when they are used as a tool to discourage destructive economic practices. And third, when they explicitly focus on redistribution between different income groups. It is well documented that there is enough money in this world to solve global poverty, with an estimated cost of $3 trillion, which is below our annual expenditure for military and even far less than what we lose from illicit financial flows. Weak fiscal frameworks systematically undermine our collective resolve to save the planet and provide a life of dignity for all. Let us move towards strengthened fiscal cooperation under a global universal membership tax body, which allows permanent sharing of financial information to tackle profit sharing and base erosion by multinationals and individuals. It is about time to tax wealth and resource extraction. The role of the UN in its coordination would be essential. Next, getting to the topic of minimum wages, which are intended to prevent abuse from the private sector to the working class. When inflation outpaces yearly increases to minimum wages, if any, this condemns the working class to live by the day. Minimum wage as a social protection floor is only the first of many steps. Ensuring growth of minimum wages in middle and low-income economies not only concerns them, but also high-income countries that depend on their cheap outsourced labor and cheap raw materials. Finally, in different parts of the world, we continue to make mistakes of a similar kind. Sectioning off our planet from one another by politics, by identities, fragmenting our ecosystems, the urban and the rural, inadvertently denying our peoples the right to live in natural harmony. On this International Day of Women and Girls in Science, we also acknowledge efforts to close the gender gap in science. According to UNESCO, only around 30% of all female students choose to enter STEM-related fields in higher education, pointing to persistent structural barriers, biases, and gender stereotypes that jeopardize equity and social inclusion. In conclusion, today we urge member states and UN entities to prioritize discussions that enhance the pillars of inclusive and decent work. We already know what to do and where to start and how to do it. The question is, will your generation work with mine to address these issues, just like with climate change when the clock has already stopped? If there is a future, it is together. Thank you.
Je remercie Madame Régine Guevara de sa déclaration. Une fois de plus, je voudrais remercier tous les éminents orateurs qui nous ont rejoints ce matin pour la séance d'ouverture de la 57e session de la Commission. Je suspends brièvement la séance pour que nos invités prennent congé et que nous puissions réorganiser la tribune pour la deuxième partie de notre programme de travail de ce matin. Thank you very much. Thank you for your contribution. Mesdames et Messieurs les représentants, j'invite à présent la Commission à examiner de nouveau le point 1 de son ordre du jour, intitulé « Élection du bureau » et à élire les autres membres du bureau. Comme vous le savez, l'an dernier, à la première séance de sa 57e session, la Commission a élu Mme Sama Salem Poules de l'Irak à la vice-présidence de la Commission à sa 57e session et reporté l'élection des vice-présidents issus des États d'Europe centrale, des États d'Amérique latine et des Caraïbes et des États d'Europe occidentale et autres États. J'ai le plaisir d'informer la Commission que les États d'Europe orientale appuient la candidature de Mme Karolina Popovici de la République de Moldova, que les États d'Europe occidentale et autres États appuient celle de Mme Helen Inga Stankiewicz-Vonest de l'Islande et que le gouvernement brésilien a nommé M. Fabrício Araújo Prado du Brésil. En l'absence d'autres candidats, puis-je considérer que la Commission souhaite élire par acclamation Mme Karolina Popovici de la République de Moldova, Mme Helen Inga Stankiewicz-Vonest de l'Islande et M. Fabrício Araújo Prado du Brésil à la vice-présidence de la Commission du développement social à sa 57e session. Je n'entends pas d'objection. Il en est ainsi décidé. Au nom de la Commission, je tiens donc à féliciter Mme Karolina Popovici, Mme Helen Inga Stankiewicz-Vonest et M. Fabrício Araújo Prado. Et je me réjouis de collaborer de manière fructueuse avec tous les membres du bureau pour assurer le succès de cette 57e session. Je saisis cette occasion pour remercier mes collègues du bureau d'avoir œuvré sans relâche pour préparer cette session. Je salue également le travail accompli par le bureau de la Commission à sa 56e session sous la direction avisée de mon prédécesseur, M. Nicholas Hannigan de l'Islande. Je souhaite informer la Commission qu'à l'issue de consultations menées au sein du bureau, il a été décidé que notre vice-président, M. Fabrício Araújo Prado du Brésil, assumerait également la charge de rapporteur pour cette session de la Commission. Je félicite M. Fabrício Araújo Prado de sa nomination. J'invite maintenant la Commission à se pencher sur le point 2. M. Prado, bienvenue. Merci. Je souhaite informer la Commission qu'à l'issue de consultations menées au sein du bureau, comme je l'ai dit tout à l'heure, que M. Prado a été nommé, il est déjà installé. J'invite maintenant la Commission à se pencher sur le point 2 de l'ordre du jour, intitulé « Adoption de l'ordre du jour et autres questions d'organisation ». L'ordre du jour provisoire de la session figure dans le document E-CN.5/2019/1 et dans son rectificatif. Le projet d'organisation des travaux figure également dans ce document à l'annexe 1. J'invite la Commission à examiner en premier lieu l'ordre du jour provisoire de cette session qui figure dans le document E-CN.5/2019/1 et dans son rectificatif. L'ordre du jour provisoire et la documentation de la 57e session de la Commission ont été approuvés par le Conseil économique et social dans sa décision 2018/219. Puis-je considérer que la Commission souhaite adopter l'ordre du jour provisoire et son rectificatif? Je n'entends pas d'objection. Il en est ainsi décidé. Chers collègues, j'invite à présent la Commission à examiner le projet d'organisation des travaux de sa 57e session qui figure dans le document E/CN.5/2019/1 et dans son rectificatif à l'annexe 1. À cet égard, j'aimerais d'abord formuler quelques observations générales concernant le déroulement de nos travaux. Je fais appel à votre coopération pour que nous commencions toutes les séances à l'heure, c'est-à-dire à 10 heures le matin, précise, 10 heures précises, et à 15 heures précises l'après-midi, afin de tirer le meilleur parti des services de conférence mis à la disposition de la Commission. Je propose également que le temps de parole pendant le débat général soit limité comme suit. 12 minutes pour les déclarations faites au nom de groupes d'État, 7 minutes pour les déclarations faites par les États membres en leur nom propre, 5 minutes pour les déclarations faites par des organisations intergouvernementales et des entités du système des Nations Unies, et 3 minutes pour les déclarations faites par des organisations non gouvernementales. Puis-je considérer que la Commission souhaite faire sienne mes propositions et adopter le projet d'organisation des travaux figurant à l'annexe 1 et dans le rectificatif, étant entendu que ce dernier pourra être ajusté au cours de la session? Je n'entends pas d'objection. Il en est ainsi décidé. Je demande à tous les orateurs et à toutes les oratrices de s'en tenir strictement au temps de parole imparti, sur lesquels nous venons de nous entendre pour le débat général, et je les remercie d'avance de leur coopération. Je voudrais également saisir cette occasion pour rappeler à toutes les délégations que la date limite pour le dépôt des projets de proposition au secrétariat, c'est ce vendredi 15 février à 15 heures. J'invite maintenant la Commission à entamer l'examen du point 3 de l'ordre du jour intitulé « Suite donnée au sommet mondial pour le développement social et à la 24e session extraordinaire de l'Assemblée générale dans son ensemble ». La liste des documents parus au titre de ce point de l'ordre du jour et de ses alinéas figure dans le journal des Nations Unies. Je donne maintenant la parole à Mme Danielle Abbas, directrice de la division du développement social inclusif du département des affaires économiques et sociales, d'ESA, qui va présenter les documents parus au titre du point 3 de l'ordre du jour dans son ensemble. Vous avez la parole.
Merci, Monsieur l'Ambassadeur. Good morning, and apologies for my voice. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor to introduce to you 5 reports and 1 note that we prepared on the emerging issue that is going to be discussed during this commission. The first report where I would like to draw your attention is the one focusing on the priority theme that is addressing inequalities and challenges to social inclusion through fiscal, wage, and social protection policies. And it's the report of the Secretary General contained in document E/CN5/2019/3. In this report, what you will find is a summary of the latest trends in global cross-country and within-country inequality. And it also highlights how countries have used fiscal, wage, and also social protection policies to reduce inequalities and address challenges when it comes to further social inclusion. And it notes that the high income inequality is harmful for the pace and sustainability of growth over time. And it is also associated with the diminished intergenerational mobility and reduces the impact of growth on poverty reduction. So it undermines social cohesion and trust in the social political system. The rise in income and wealth inequalities and its negative social, economic, and political impacts, they have a negative, as I said, impact to the growing global consensus on the imperative to combat rising inequalities and address social exclusion. So, noting that rising inequality is neither desirable nor inevitable, the report concludes that with the right set of policies and the right set of institutions, inequality in all forms can be curbed. And the report also emphasizes that the role of fiscal policies in addressing inequalities is key. Labor market policies to strengthen institutions are needed. Policies support female labor participation and national social protection systems, including floors to reduce inequalities and promote social inclusion, need to be also strengthened where needed. And the report further underlines the importance of public spending to ensure universal health coverage and access to quality health care and inclusive and equitable access to quality education at all levels. Mr. Chairman, I would like now to introduce briefly the report on NEPAD, the social dimension of the new Partnership for Africa's Development, which is in the document E/CN5/2019/2. And in this report, we examine progress in poverty eradication, reducing hunger and inequality, inclusive social development, peace and security, and good governance. It also discusses the progress made in ensuring a coordinating implementation of the Agenda 2063 and Agenda 2030 for Sustainable Development. In this report, what you will find is the underlining that combating inequality is a necessary step for the eradication of extreme poverty everywhere and achieving, of course, the SDGs. The report urges African countries to promote structural transformation through industrialization, invest in agriculture to boost the productivity, invest in human capacity development, especially in education skills and other skills that are gained through training, vocational training, and universal health coverage, and scale up the provision of social protection schemes, including social protection floors. And finally, this report encourages the United Nations system to continue delivering its support to Africa through its realigned clusters, as well as the countryside resident coordinator systems, to improve, in this way, policy coherence at the regional as well as the country level. And the system can also enhance its support to countries by further improvement of quality of policy research and knowledge products, and technical assistance, of course, to strengthen the national capacity. The third report I was mentioning about is the one that focuses on social groups. The title is Review of Relevant United Nations Plans and Programs of Action Pertaining to the Situation of Social Groups. The report is of the Secretary General is on accelerating the implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, by, for, and with persons with disabilities. And it's contained in document E/CN5/2019/4. This report reviews the international normative frame on mainstreaming disability in development and progress made by member states, the United Nations systems, and of course the civil society. In what? In promoting the rights and the well-being of persons with disabilities and mainstreaming of disability in the implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. So what comes out from this report is that in order to accelerate the implementation of the 2030 Agenda by, for, and with persons with disabilities, member states should review and strengthen national policies and strategies and plans of action to ensure that persons with disabilities are included and mainstreamed systematically in the implementation of the 2030 Agenda and in its follow-up reviews. So what is needed is increased relevant investment applied to universal design for achieving sustainable urban and rural planning for all. Disability should be given due consideration as a cross-cutting issue in forthcoming global conferences, meetings, and processes addressing the three pillars of the UN, not only on disability-related matters, in all conferences. Specific attention should also be given to the persistent marginalization of persons with disability. How? Through awareness raising, through policy intervention, and through measures to address multifaceted discrimination and inequality faced by persons with disabilities. So this report recommends that in monitoring the implementation of the 2030 Agenda, actions should be taken to address what? Existing data gaps by expediting the establishment of a set of clear and measurable disability-related SDGs, committing resources for capacity building for the collection and analysis of disability disaggregated data and statistics, to strengthen the evidence base and periodical reporting on the situation of persons with disabilities, and further promoting international cooperation for advancing disability-inclusive development. The report finally encourages member states to regularize the practice for the organization of an annual multi-stakeholder panel discussion on the advancement of the status of persons with disabilities within the framework of the Commission for Social Development, with a view to further promote disability-inclusive development in the context of the 2030 Agenda. Then we have the report E/CN5/2019/5 that focuses on policies and programs involving youth. The report focuses on three areas, namely education, employment, and gender equality. In particular, it highlights the situation and challenges of youth relating to those areas, as well as the policy initiatives undertaken by member states in addressing them. The report also highlights the interlinkages between the World Programme of Action on Youth and the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. And the role of data, it also ensures that in order to fulfill the needs of youth, we need to distill key recommendations, such as strengthening evidence-based national policies and programs on youth. The fifth one is about family. It's contained in the document A/74/61-E/2019/4. And this is the Secretary General report on the implementation of the objectives of the International Year of the Family and its follow-up processes. What you will find in this report is an analysis about the recent family trends, with a focus on poverty and social protection, work-family balance, and unpaid work, as well as the role of families in inclusive societies. The report also presents many good practices in family policies making, both at national and also international levels, and it confirms that member states see family and the children-focused interventions as conducive to the achievement of many Sustainable Development Goals and many targets of the SDGs. Moreover, family services and counseling are important for child protection and violence prevention. Both cash and services improve school enrollment, health and nutrition, labor market participation and gender equity, thus contributing to the achievement of several SDGs. And in conclusion, in this report, the area of social inclusion. There is needed to have more action in this area to ensure legal identity for all. The last is the note that has been prepared, and it introduces, therefore, the agenda item 3C, entitled Emerging Issues. Now, this year, the theme is empowerment of people affected by natural and human-made disasters to reduce inequality, addressing how these impact persons with disabilities, older persons, and youth. And a note by the Secretariat has been prepared. The note is, the number of this document is E/CN5/2019/7. And it has been prepared to facilitate consideration of this item. A high-level panel discussion on this item is scheduled for Monday morning. The note concludes that available data suggests that persons with disabilities, older persons, and likely youth are disproportionately affected by the unfolding of conflicts and the consequences of natural and human-made disasters. These social groups have specific needs during and after disasters, and these needs should be factored into disaster reduction planning and response action. It is also important to recognize that they are heterogeneous groups and vary significantly in their ability to cope with and during disasters. So the note recommends that policy actions shall be taken and enhanced through further raising the awareness on disaster reduction and prevention, developing and implementing national policies, programs, and the strategies for inclusion and empowerment of these affected groups. Investment in related infrastructures, services, and information responsive and accessible to all people are needed, particularly those affected by natural disasters, like the vulnerable groups that this Commission deals with. And further action is needed. Action shall be taken to actively engage and empower the above-mentioned social groups, build their capacity, as well as that of relevant disaster reduction institutions and professionals, establish and strengthen risk reduction structures and mechanisms, undertake evidence-based research and data collection and analysis on situations of the affected social groups. Why? In order to better inform and support policy making and implementation of effective disaster management and humanitarian across the 2030 agenda that has and is an agenda for all. Mr. Chairman, it took a while. Thank you very much. We had so much to share. Distinguished delegates, again, thank you. This concludes my introduction of the reports prepared for this commission.
Je remercie Madame Bass, directrice de la division du développement social et inclusif, pour sa déclaration riche en informations. J'invite à présent la Commission à commencer son débat général. Débat général consacré aux alinéas A et B du point 3 de l'ordre du jour, intitulé, je cite, pour le premier alinéa, thème prioritaire, lutter contre les inégalités et les obstacles à l'inclusion sociale au moyen des politiques budgétaires et salariales et des politiques de protection sociale, fin de citation, et, je cite, pour le point B, pour l'alinéa B, examen des plans et programmes d'action des organismes des Nations Unies concernant la situation de certains groupes sociaux, fin de citation. Avant de donner la parole au premier orateur, je demande de nouveau aux délégations de bien vouloir respecter les temps de parole convenus, à savoir 12 minutes pour les États membres qui s'expriment au nom de groupe et 7 minutes pour les États membres qui s'expriment en leur nom propre. Un minuteur affiché sur l'écran aidera les orateurs et oratrices à gérer leur temps de parole. Cela étant dit, je donne la parole à son Excellence M. Mohamed Shtaye, ministre du Conseil économique palestinien pour le développement et la reconstruction de l'État de Palestine, au nom du groupe des 77 et de la Chine. Vous avez la parole, Monsieur le ministre.
Mr. Chair, I have the honor to deliver this statement on behalf of the Group of 77 and China. At the outset, I would like to congratulate you on assuming the chair of the Commission for Social Development. We wish you and your Bureau a successful session, and we assure you of our full support and cooperation. Also, allow me to thank the Secretary General for his reports, which will contribute to inform and enrich our deliberations. Mr. Chair, building upon earlier work and discussions on the matter, the 57th session of the Commission will review issues of strategies for tackling the challenges and of inequalities and social inclusion. These are of the utmost importance to the Group of 77 and China. Here, we wish to reaffirm that addressing inequality in all its forms is essential to eradication poverty, advancing social progress, and ensuring sustainable development. We believe it is also critical to promote social cohesion so as to create an environment for development and sustain peace. The group remains deeply concerned that more than 20 years after the adoption of the World Summit for Social Development, progress has been slow and uneven, and major gaps remain. Current trends reflect the income inequality has persisted or even increased within many countries, undermining efforts to eradicate poverty. In addition, environmental degradation and climate change exacerbate inequality by overexposing the poorest and most vulnerable among them, as they tend to have fewer means to cope and adapt. The group wishes to reaffirm that these trends challenge our ability to meet the commitments made at the World Summit for Social Development and the achievement of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and its overreaching pledge to leave no one behind and put the furthest behind first. They alert us that accelerated collective and transformative efforts are urgently needed. The group recalls that the 2030 Agenda calls for reducing inequality within and between countries, achieving gender equality, as well as promoting inclusive, just, and equitable societies to empower people, and in particular for the most vulnerable. We believe that these goals should be placed at the center of policy debates and policy making on inequality at national, regional, and global levels. Mr. Chair, the Group of 77 and China wishes to underscore the need for action-oriented and integrated policies to tackle all aspects of inequalities and challenges to social inclusion. This is essential to ensure that all people can equally participate in and share the benefits of economic development in a sustainable manner. Moreover, the group believes that fiscal, wage, social protection policies can significantly contribute to reducing inequality. We would like to reiterate the importance of sustainable investments in inclusive and quality education and health services, as well as in critical resilient infrastructures and connectivity, particularly in rural areas. Policies need to redistribute resources so as to decrease inequalities across territories, within urban centers, and between urban and rural areas. We also want to underscore efforts to strengthen social protection systems. Well-designed, inclusive social protection policies and programs that address protection needs throughout the life cycle can greatly contribute to reducing poverty, income inequality, and social exclusion, while building human capital and strengthening people's resilience to economic, social, and climate-related shocks. The Group of 77 and China also acknowledges the importance of adopting effective and progressive tax systems alongside efforts to diversify economies and revenue sources and combat tax evasion. Efforts to reduce informal employment and to make labor markets more inclusive, including addressing wage discrimination against women, youth, and other disadvantaged, marginalized social groups, protecting workers' rights, and elimination of exploitations are equally paramount. The group believes that the creation of productive and decent jobs and entrepreneurship, particularly for women and youth, is vital and should remain a major focus of policy choices for reduced inequality and poverty. In this context, Mr. Chairman, we also want to reiterate our commitment to leave no one behind. Fiscal, wage, and social protection policies should fully factor in the specific needs, but should also encourage the full potential of disadvantaged social groups, including children, youth, women, informal workers, older persons, persons with disabilities, people living with HIV, AIDS, indigenous people, migrants, refugees, internally displaced persons, and other people who are vulnerable or in vulnerable situations. The group stresses that policies should strive to empower them both as beneficiaries and agents of change in the implementation of the 2030 Agenda and Sustainable Development Goals. Mr. Chair, having addressed the above, the Group 77 and China wishes to acknowledge that there is no one-size-fits-all approach. The group notes that national capacities, including institutional and financial capacities to fight inequality, also differ. We would like to reaffirm the importance of respecting each country's policy space and priorities to implement measures for reducing inequalities and poverty. Our debate on inequality and social exclusion challenges the policy options should firmly remind us of our commitments to remove obstacles to the full realization of the rights of people to self-determination in all cases where it is applicable, in particular those who are living under colonial, foreign occupation, and other forms of alien domination which continue to adversely affect their socio-economic development, with full respect to national sovereignty and territorial integrity of member states. The Group of 77 and China would like to reiterate the fundamental rule of international cooperation, North-South, South-South, and triangular cooperation and renewed partnership to support national efforts to fight inequality and eradicate poverty. The group stresses the importance of scaling up the mobilization of resources towards sustainable development, including official development aid, Official Development Assistant, or ODA, innovative financial sources, capacity building, technology transfers, and trade, among others, as well as addressing the external debt sustainability, that all should be carried out on fair and reasonable terms and conditions. In addition, the group also strongly supports the social agenda of the new Partnership for Africa's Development and Agenda 2063 of the African Union. Mr. Chair, the Group 77 and China wishes to reaffirm once again the critical role of the Commission for Social Development in advancing action for social progress and the eradication of poverty through promotion of the program of action of the Copenhagen Summit, and commend the Commission's commitment to place the fight against inequality and exclusion at the forefront of its work. Likewise, we fully appreciate the contribution of the Commission to the follow-up to the 2030 Agenda for the Sustainable Development and the implementation of SDGs within its existing mandate, and we trust that the discussions and recommendations of the 57th session of the Commission will greatly contribute to the 2019 high-level political forum under the theme of empowering people and ensuring inclusiveness and equality. I thank you, Mr. Chair.
Je remercie Son Excellence, Monsieur le Ministre du Conseil économique pour le développement et la reconstruction de l'État de Palestine pour sa déclaration faite au nom du groupe des 77 de la Chine. Je donne à présent la parole à Son Excellence, Monsieur Uyon Djenga, représentant permanent de la Roumanie, qui va parler au nom de l'Union européenne. Monsieur l'ambassadeur, chers collègues, vous avez la parole.
Monsieur le Président, Mr. President, I have the honor to speak on behalf of the European Union and its member states, as my country, Romania, is currently the President of the Council of the European Union. On a personal note, I have a special attachment to the activity of CSocD, as 3 years ago I chaired myself this commission, and I recognize familiar faces on the podium. I warmly congratulate you and Bureau members for being elected at the helm of this important commission. The candidate countries, Turkey, the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia, Montenegro, Serbia, and Albania, the country of the stabilization and association process and potential candidate Bosnia and Herzegovina, as well as Ukraine, the Republic of Moldova, and Georgia, align themselves with this statement. First of all, we'd like to thank the Bureau and the Department of Economic and Social Affairs for the preparatory work carried out in advance of this session. The Commission continues to have an important mandate as the principal UN forum for the discussion of social development issues, and we look forward to actively participating throughout the session. In November 2017, the first EU Social Summit in 20 years was held in Gothenburg. At the Social Summit, the European Parliament, the EU Member States and Council, and the European Commission jointly proclaimed the European Pillar of Social Rights, which is our main guidance for implementing the social dimension of the 2030 Agenda and the SDGs in the European Union. The pillar is set to deliver new and more effective rights for citizens by focusing on 3 main areas. First, equal opportunities and access to the labor market. Second, fair working conditions. And third, social protection and social inclusion. Similarly to the SDGs, the European Pillar of Social Rights mainstreams respect for the rights of persons with disabilities. Therefore, we consider the priority theme of this session, addressing inequalities and challenges to social inclusion through fiscal, wage, and social protection policies, particularly relevant. Mr. President, Europe performs better than other advanced economies in reducing inequality, particularly from the perspective of redistributing wealth through tax and transfer schemes. Significant public expenditure in healthcare, education, employment policies, social inclusion, pensions, and long-term care are also key part of the European social model. Regarding wage levels, statutory minimum wage floors are in place in 22 of the 28 EU member states, and collectively bargained sectoral minimum wages are in place in each of all the others. Additionally, during the period 2014-2020, the European Structural and Investment Funds allocated approximately 45 billion euros for social inclusion, 41 billion euros for employment, and 35 billion euros for education. Our social protection systems provide insurance against social risks, support resilience of economies in downturn, and redistribute income across groups. Social protection, in conjunction with other policies, including in progressivity of the tax system, wage setting, and education policies, has helped the EU to contain the rise of inequalities that is observed across the globe since 1980s. However, our social protection systems are under strain, with demography being the most influential factor. New forms of work also challenge the way social protection is financed, organized, and delivered. Maintaining and updating our model of social protection is the biggest structural challenge for the decade to come in Europe. This year, as part of Social Fairness Package, the European Commission proposed guidance on how to adapt the social protection systems to the changing world of work and to better protect people in non-standard work and self-employment in order to support EU member states in their efforts to modernize their welfare state. A shared, prosperous, and sustainable future for all can only be achieved by bringing together the social, economic, and environmental dimensions in an integrated and holistic manner. The success of the transition to the low-carbon economy depends on the support of our citizens, and in consequence, Mr. President, policies addressing environmental sustainability and climate stability should be also socially inclusive and fair. As such, it is imperative that sustainability transformations are just and incorporate inequality and social inclusion concerns. Policies should be progressive and should not punish the poorest. Adult learning is increasingly important. Low-qualified adults are only half as likely to participate in learning as others. Going forward, even the most basic tasks of our economy will increasingly require a broader set of digital, service, and people-oriented skills. The European Commission's New Skills Agenda for Europe offers a framework to make that shift. Young people have substantially weaker employment outcomes as compared to adults in almost all EU countries. This is why we introduced the EU Youth Guarantee to ensure that all young people under the age of 25 years get a good quality offer for employment, apprenticeship, traineeship, or education. All EU member states are committed to implementing the Youth Guarantee, and the efforts invested under it are paying off. Each year since 2014, the Youth Guarantee has provided opportunities for more than 3.5 million young people. By the end of 2017, 2.4 million young people had benefited from direct support by the Youth Employment Initiative, and the objective is to support an additional 1 million young people by 2020. Youth unemployment has reached its lowest level on record in the European Union since 2000. But further efforts are needed, in particular to reach out to those young people that are hardest to reach, including those with fewer opportunities. We welcome the United Nations 2030 Strategy for Youth. To empower youth and to engage with them are also in the core of the new EU Youth Strategy for the period 2019-2027, adopted by the Council at the end of 2018. The European Union Youth Strategy aims at giving young people a stronger voice in EU policy making and places particular attention to reaching disadvantaged young people. Balancing work and family life is a daily challenge for women and men all over Europe. We need to continue working on solutions that can give all people a real choice in how they want to shape their lives, rearing their children, pursuing a career, caring for their elders, and living their lives. This also will benefit families and children and will help increase women's participation in the labor market, thereby reducing the difference between men and women in employment, which still stands at above 11%. Our policies also aim to reduce gender pay gap. To that end, the Commission adopted in 2014 a recommendation on pay transparency and an EU Action Plan 2017-2019 named Tracking the Gender Pay Gap. The EU is aware that a persisting gender pay gap often leads to a gender gap in pensions and is strongly committed to removing obstacles to the participation of women in the labor market, both by enabling parents and other people with caring responsibilities to better balance their work and family lives, and by encouraging an equal sharing of caring and household responsibilities between women and men. Therefore, the European Commission has put forward an initiative on work-life balance to help working parents and carers to better combine work with family and caring responsibilities. This initiative includes a proposal for a directive with new or higher minimum standards for parental, paternity, and carers leave, as well as policy guidance supporting men in greater take-up of leave and reducing economic disincentives for women to work. We regret that at the European Union, 30.2% of persons with disabilities aged 16 and over live in households that are at risk of poverty or social exclusion, compared to 20.8% of persons without a disability. In addition, the annual gross employee cash income received by persons with disabilities is 11% less compared to the amount received by persons without disabilities. The EU and its member states are making significant efforts to address those gaps. Besides its financial instruments, state aid rules allow for selective subsidies for the recruitment and employment of workers with disabilities. In addition, public procurement rules require all procurement intended for use by persons, whether member of the public or staff of the purchasing authority, to take account of accessibility for persons with disability. The European Union, Mr. President, as party of the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, continues to mainstream disability issues in the actions to combat unemployment and works towards their full participation in society on an equal basis with others. We are starting an evaluation of the European Disability Strategy 2010-2020 in order to take stock on the implementation of the Convention in the European Union and assess the effectiveness of the strategy to that end. The European Accessibility Act, which is almost finalized, will harmonize accessibility requirements in the EU to facilitate access for persons with disabilities to essential goods and services in the single market. It will contribute to enhance inclusiveness and participation in employment and education. We also take very seriously the global challenge ahead. In this respect, we hope that the European Consensus on Development will be a key instrument to support social development around the world. The EU Consensus for Development, which has poverty eradication as its primary objective, seeks to support the achievement of all 17 Sustainable Development Goals in an integrated manner. It states that the EU and its member states will promote gender equality and will implement a rights-based approach to development, encompassing all human rights, including the rights of persons with disabilities. It also underlines our intention to work more strongly and effectively with all our partners, including by forging new relationships. In this context, the European Union welcomes the Global Partnership for Universal Social Protection to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, also called USP 2030, that was launched at the UN General Assembly in September 2016. The functioning, governance, membership, and activities of USP 2030 should be further strengthened and legitimized. And the Commission for Social Development, together with other relevant UN bodies, and in close coordination with the USP 2030 Interim Steering Committee, also has to play an important role in this. We welcome the progress that has made last year in the reform of the methods of work of CSocD, and we are keen to see further progress this year. CSocD addresses vitally important issues, and it is essential that it continues to evolve so as to ensure that it avoids duplication, is aligned with the work of ECOSOC, and makes a valuable contribution to the high-level political forum. We look very much forward to the discussions during this session to hear how inequalities and challenges to social inclusion are being addressed around the world. Et je vous remercie de votre attention, Monsieur le Président.
Je remercie Monsieur l'ambassadeur représentant permanent de Roumanie pour sa déclaration faite au nom de l'Union européenne. Je donne à présent la parole à son Excellence Monsieur Khieu Dang Dinh, ambassadeur représentant permanent du Vietnam, qui va parler au nom de l'Association des Nations de l'Asie du Sud-Est. Monsieur l'ambassadeur, chers collègues, vous avez la parole.
Mr. Chairman, first I would like to express our warm congratulations to you and the Bureau member for assuming these very important jobs and assure of our full support for the success of our section. I have the honor to speak on behalf of the 10 member states of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, ASEAN, namely Brunei Darussalam, Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos PDR, Malaysia, Myanmar, the Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, and my own country, Vietnam. ASEAN allies itself with the statement delivered by Palestine on behalf of the G77 in China. And we would like to express our appreciation to the Secretary General for his report, which gives us a comprehensive overview on inequality within and among countries. Mr. Chairman, the international community is entering the 4th years of the implementation of the UN 2030 Agenda, and for ASEAN member states, we are also entering the 4th years of ASEAN Vision 2025. These two frameworks share a lot of complementarity in uplifting the living standards of our peoples. While noting that have been achieved in both frameworks, we realize that much more needs to be done. It is with concerns that we have witnessed continuing global inequality within and among countries. While the fourth industrial revolutions offer great opportunity for development, the digital divide is still evident, further widening the gap within countries as well as between developed and developing countries. Persistent disparity remains in access to education, employment, health services on the basis of gender, urban-rural location, and others. Coupled with this, the growing challenges in many parts of the world, such as climate change, pandemics, disaster, environmental degradation, have been undermining our efforts towards sustainable development. The cross-cutting nature of the issue we are dealing with demands a holistic approach and a set of coordinated policy responses to address all dimensions of inequality. While fiscal policy can be a powerful tool to achieve better income distribution and improve economic efficiencies, social policy measures in education, employment, healthcare, and social protection play their own part in reducing inequalities, particularly for women, youth, older persons with disabilities, and other vulnerable groups. In this regard, we would like to share ASEAN experience in narrowing the development gaps, tapping the opportunity provided by ICT, and enhancing social protection and promoting decent works. Firstly, ASEAN had long recognized the importance of narrowing the development gap to enable all ASEAN member states to achieve progress and share the benefit of ASEAN integration. The initiative for ASEAN integration, or IAI, launched by ASEAN leader in 2000, has served as a framework for mutual assistance and cooperation, through which the more developed ASEAN member could help those member countries that most need it, so as to bridge the development gaps and enhance ASEAN competitiveness. The ongoing IAI Work Plan 3 for the period 2016-2025 focuses on 5 strategic areas, namely food and agriculture, trade facilitation, MSMEs, education, health, and well-being. Secondly, in recognition of the growing importance of ICT, ASEAN is committed to fully tapping the opportunity arising from the digital revolution and applying new technology and innovation to enhance the equities of life for ASEAN citizens. Facing rising inequality from rapid urbanization, ASEAN has established ASEAN Smart City Network as a collaborative platform where cities work together toward the common goal of smart and sustainable urban development. Cities in ASEAN are working to achieve a balance among three interdependent objectives, namely competitive economy, sustainable development, and high quality of life. To this end, smart cities in ASEAN harness technological and digital solutions as well as innovative non-technological means to enhance the equality and accessibility of services, thereby continuously improving people's lives across the urban-rural continuums. ASEAN cities are also aiming to be smart, sustainable cities, promoting economic and social development alongside environmental protection to meet the current and the future challenges of its people while leaving no one behind. Thirdly, it is the unwavering commitment of ASEAN to enhance the well-being and improve the quality of life of older persons, children, women, youth, persons with disabilities, and other vulnerable groups. The priority area includes promoting policy for increased access and sustainability, enhancing the participation and social responsibility of stakeholders, and strengthening the resilience of families and caregivers in society. Last November, ASEAN adopted the Enabling Master Plans 2025, mainstreaming the rights of the person with disability with the overall goals of building an inclusive community where independence, freedom of choice, and full of effective participation of persons with disability in all areas of life are realized and sustained. Acknowledging that EU will be a key driving force in bringing the region forward, ASEAN is committed to nurturing and investing in its youth. Many initiatives have been taken, such as the ASEAN e-sport tournament and ASEAN EU fellowship program to engage and connect ASEAN youth, as well as ASEAN youth interface camps to engender dialogue and mutual understanding between youth of different faiths and cultural backgrounds. ASEAN leader declares November 25th every year as ASEAN Youth in Climate Actions and Disaster Resilience Day, in the recognition that youth talent and skills may be utilized for climate change adaptation and mitigation and disaster resilient activities. Last but not least, ASEAN attaches great importance to addressing matters related to promoting decent work, including a managed transition process from informal to formal employment of workers. In 2016, ASEAN leader adopted the Vientiane Declaration on transition from informal employment to formal employment toward decent work promotion and subsequently developed a regional action plan to implement this declaration. Furthermore, ASEAN is committed to improving occupational safety and health, OSH, and to protect the safety, health, and welfare of workers in the region through the concrete actions such as raising OSH standards, building OSH inspection capability, enhancing the collection of OSH data, etc. ASEAN leader also adopted the declaration on promoting green jobs for equity and inclusive growth that reaffirmed their commitment to responding to, among others, promoting green products and green services, improving green technology at workplace, and encouraging corporate social responsibility in the labor sector. Mr. Chairman, ASEAN reaffirms the need to further strengthen mutual cooperation and assistance at global, regional, and bilateral level to narrow the development gap, embrace new technologies and innovations to best serve our people's interests, and ensure equitable access for all to social protection. Through this CSocD, we can highlight the importance of strengthening collaboration between UN and ASEAN member states. The current plan of action between ASEAN and the UN reflects our effective partnership through the exchange of information and expertise, capacity building activities, technical support, and intersectoral dialogues to promote cooperation in areas of mutual interest and to help address common challenges. Mutual cooperation is of vital importance to ensure the realization of our ambitious goals in the 2030 Agenda. I thank you for your attention.
Je remercie Son Excellence Monsieur l'ambassadeur du Vietnam pour sa déclaration faite au nom de l'ASEAN. Je donne maintenant la parole à Son Excellence Madame Penelope Beckles, ambassadeur représentante permanente de Trinité et Tobago, qui va s'exprimer au nom de la communauté des Caraïbes. Madame l'ambassadeur, chers collègues, vous avez la parole.
Thank you. Yes. Mr. Chair, in this 57th session of the Commission for Social Development, it is my honor to speak today on behalf of the member states of the Caribbean Community, CARICOM. We congratulate you and the members of the Bureau on your election. Our delegations also express our appreciation to the Secretary General for the detailed and comprehensive reports provided for consideration. CARICOM aligns itself with the statements made by the distinguished minister from the State of Palestine on behalf of the Group of 77 and China. The priority theme for this session, addressing inequalities and challenges to social inclusion through fiscal, wage, and social protection policies, is one we consider pertinent and well aligned to the SIDS agenda comprised of the Barbados Program of Action, the Mauritius Strategy, and the Samoa Pathway, as well as the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, which aims to ensure that no one is left behind. In this regard, we wish to reaffirm our commitment to the achievement of sustainable development in our region, which cannot be achieved without the implementation of social policies that address the inequalities and challenges experienced. Our national and regional efforts must also be complemented by multilateral actions that create a level playing field for fair and equitable international relations. Mr. Chair, CARICOM notes the recent report of the Secretary General on addressing inequalities and challenges to social inclusion through fiscal, wage, and social protection policies, which highlights the progress made by member states on these issues. This report, which highlighted the effectiveness of fiscal policies and government spending on reducing inequality and social inclusion, also pointed out that while inequalities persist, the world has seen remarkable improvements in health outcomes as well as steady increases in the average level of education attainment across countries. It is to be noted that for our region, higher education spending has been the most important driver behind the declining trend in inequality. However, despite these notable advances and significant milestones, such as reductions in maternal and child mortality, expansions in basic education, improvements in infrastructure and access, social development has been uneven and fragile. Every effort must be made to empower the bottom percentile of income earners and promote the economic and social inclusion of all members of society. CARICOM notes with concern that oftentimes the burden of inequality falls disproportionately on women and children. Mr. Chair, social development is an inextricable aspect of the sustainable development of CARICOM. In our region, the governments of the Caribbean community continue to grapple with the key challenges, including the adverse impacts of climate change, the deleterious effects of natural disasters, and skill gaps in major sectors of our economies. In addition, the rising level of youth unemployment is a serious concern which has in some instances contributed to the widening poverty gap and to increasing levels of disenchantment, crime, and insecurity. For this reason, CARICOM's dedicated focus on adolescents and youth, as well as on helping them to build their capacities, is consistent with the social resilience pillar of the region's strategic plan. It is up to us to ensure that the true potential of our young people are realized. Our work here today is not just to benefit them, but also to encourage them to be part of the discourse on advancing our sustainable development initiatives. In this regard, CARICOM remains committed to ensuring that youth issues are addressed in the implementation of the 2030 Agenda. Mr. Chair, CARICOM also notes the report of the Secretary General in July 2018 on the implementation of the outcome of the World Summit for Social Development and the 24th Special Session of the General Assembly A/73/214, in which it was recommended inter alia that member states should establish nationally appropriate universal social protection systems and address challenges faced by those working in informal or vulnerable jobs. It was also recommended that member states invest in creating more decent work opportunities and enhancing the productive capacities of people by strengthening labor institutions and employment and labor market policies, including decent work and wage policies, taking into consideration the specific circumstances of each country. The decent work deficit, a product of the growing chasm between formal and informal sector workers, continues to be a special concern in CARICOM. Work is a source of not only economic growth, but personal dignity, family stability, and peace in communities. Decent work and livelihood for all is paramount to sustainable development, and human resource development lies at the heart of social development. It is with this in mind that CARICOM Council on Human and Social Development developed in 2030 Human Resource Development Strategy. Regional governments have high priority on providing educational and training opportunities which foster competencies fit for meeting the demands of the 21st century. We in Caribbean community accord the highest priority to addressing the situation of persons with disabilities. This was manifested in the appointment of the CARICOM Special Rapporteur on Disability. The appointment follows our government's collective efforts to implement the 2013 Declaration of Pétionville, in which CARICOM health ministers agreed to promote social services for and the protection of persons with disabilities. Mr. Chair, for over 20 years, CARICOM has been in the process of harmonizing its approach to public health in the region through the Caribbean Cooperation in Health Initiative, and more recently through the establishment of the Caribbean Pacific Health Agency. In fact, CARICOM remains at the forefront of advancing the prevention and control of non-communicable diseases in the global arena. On this note, CARICOM wishes its appreciation for the convening of the third high-level meeting by the President of the General Assembly in September 2018 on the comprehensive review of the prevention and control of NCDs. On this occasion, CARICOM also launched a new regional initiative entitled CARICOM Moves, aimed at re-energizing and intensification of the health promotion efforts through creative and innovative multi-sectoral collaboration. However, despite these achievements, the region continues to be faced with a double burden of the rising incidence and prevalence of NCDs. Additionally, CARICOM looks forward to the upcoming high-level meeting on the universal health coverage at the 74th session of the General Assembly. These initiatives play a crucial role in the attainment of social inclusion and addressing issues of inequality. Mr. Chair, despite many challenges, CARICOM remains committed to the provision of effective social protection systems, as well as to active and constructive engagement with local, regional, and international development partners in the quest for social development and the eradication of poverty in all its forms. In addition, CARICOM wishes to highlight that older persons, youth, and persons with disabilities are among the most vulnerable in our society and are therefore sometimes more susceptible to inequality and social exclusion. In this regard, CARICOM commits to the implementation of the regional socio-economic policies that reduce inequalities, promote access to social services, education, and healthcare for all. Finally, we look forward to the continued guidance of the Commission and welcome this dialogue, which allows for assessment of the policies formulated and implemented in related to social development, which is key to the achievement of sustainable development. CARICOM therefore urges greater synergies between the work of the Commission and our efforts to implement the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, as well as the wider SIDS agenda, as these agendas are inextricably linked. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Je remercie Son Excellence Madame l'ambassadeur représentante permanente de Trinité et Tobago pour sa déclaration faite au nom de la communauté des Caraïbes. Je donne à présent la parole à Son Excellence Monsieur Jean-Claude Dorego, ambassadeur représentant permanent du Bénin, qui va parler au nom des États d'Afrique. Monsieur l'ambassadeur, chers collègues et amis, vous avez la parole.
Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Président. Monsieur le Président, j'ai l'honneur de faire cette déclaration au nom du groupe africain. Permettez-moi avant tout de vous féliciter, Monsieur le Président et chers frères, au nom du groupe, pour votre accession à la présidence des travaux de cette 57e session de la Commission du développement social. Sous votre direction, nous sommes convaincus que les résultats des délibérations sur le thème prioritaire de cette session, à savoir relever les inégalités et les défis à l'inclusion sociale par le biais des politiques fiscales, salariales et de la protection sociale, aboutiront à des conclusions fructueuses. Le groupe africain s'aligne sur la déclaration faite par la délégation de l'État de Palestine au nom du groupe des 77 et de la Chine. Le groupe africain remercie le secrétaire général pour son rapport figurant à l'ordre du jour de ses travaux et prend bonne note des recommandations qu'il contient. Monsieur le Président, depuis la déclaration de Copenhague, l'engagement en faveur de l'éradication de la pauvreté est devenu l'objectif primordial du développement. Les gouvernements se sont engagés à éradiquer la pauvreté en tant qu'impératif éthique social, politique et économique de l'humanité. Les gouvernements sont, en outre, résolus à élaborer des stratégies nationales et à établir des cibles précises et limitées dans le temps pour éradiquer la pauvreté absolue. Le sommet social mondial a appelé les gouvernements à concentrer leurs efforts et leurs politiques sur la lutte contre les causes profondes de la pauvreté, en répondant aux besoins fondamentaux de tous, en particulier des femmes et d'autres groupes vulnérables, et en veillant à ce que les pauvres aient accès à des ressources productives, y compris le crédit, l'éducation et la formation. Dans le cadre de cet engagement, les gouvernements doivent renforcer les moyens et les capacités des personnes, en particulier les pauvres, pour participer à la prise de décision, créant ainsi un environnement politique et réglementaire susceptible de réduire les inégalités et permettre la création de l'emploi et autres opportunités économiques. En effet, une croissance économique incluse est le moteur majeur de la réduction de la pauvreté. L'élimination de la pauvreté d'ici à 2030 envisagerait de ce fait une transformation structurelle inclusive, une croissance économique forte, avec création d'emplois et réduction des inégalités entre les secteurs, les pays et les régions. Monsieur le Président, L'éradication de la pauvreté, y compris l'extrême pauvreté, est l'un des grands défis auxquels le monde est confronté aujourd'hui. Bien que le contexte et le paysage du développement changent dans de nombreux pays africains, il est important pour ces États africains de continuer à renforcer et à soutenir l'élan atteint à ce jour et de veiller à ce que leurs priorités et aspirations en matière de développement soient prises en œuvre dans le programme des Nations Unies à l'horizon 2030 et l'agenda 2063 de l'Union africaine. Néanmoins, les diverses conséquences de la pauvreté, comme la malnutrition, les maladies transmissibles et le fardeau croissant des maladies non transmissibles auxquelles sont confrontés les États africains, impliquent le renforcement des systèmes de soins de santé et l'amélioration de l'équité en matière d'accès aux soins de santé. Le but étant de parvenir à des vies saines pour tous. En outre, l'absence ou le manque d'accès à une éducation de qualité, y compris des dispositifs d'apprentissage pour les personnes handicapées et autres services de base, la faible croissance économique et la dégradation de l'environnement continuent d'affecter et d'aggraver la vie de nombreuses personnes en Afrique. À cet égard, il est important de focaliser les investissements dans le capital humain, dans le développement rural équilibré et des besoins d'infrastructures inclusives pour les pauvres et les personnes handicapées dans les régions défavorisées de tous les pays africains. Monsieur le Président, le groupe africain estime que la nécessité d'actions concrètes pour accélérer les progrès vers l'éradication de la pauvreté en s'attaquant à ses interactions sur l'intégration sociale, le plein emploi et le travail décent pour tous ne saurait être surestimée. Sur l'inclusion sociale et la répartition des inégalités de revenus dans de nombreux pays africains, le développement n'a pas eu d'impact significatif sur la vie de la majorité de la population, en particulier des groupes les plus vulnérables. De nombreux pays d'Afrique continuent de faire face à des difficultés de développement social. Les inégalités de revenus ont augmenté dans de nombreux pays et entre les secteurs en cours au cours de ces dernières décennies. Et l'Afrique demeure parmi les régions où non seulement les inégalités de revenus sont les plus élevées, mais aussi l'ossature économique s'avérant fortement dépendante du secteur informel. Ainsi, il ne fait aucun doute que les efforts visant à éradiquer la pauvreté exigent que la génération actuelle des enfants et des jeunes acquiert l'éducation et les compétences nécessaires. Monsieur le Président, l'Afrique reste déterminée à fournir des efforts pour l'éradication de la pauvreté par des politiques et des programmes de développement conçus au plus haut niveau des États. Pour mieux refléter cet engagement, les chefs d'État et de gouvernement de l'Union africaine ont adopté en 2009 le cadre de politique sociale pour l'Afrique et la position commune de l'Union africaine sur l'intégration sociale. Les gouvernements africains ont également entrepris des efforts pour promouvoir une mise en œuvre efficace des actions et des programmes convenus dans le cadre des efforts de l'Afrique, en droite ligne avec le modèle des Nations Unies visant à réduire la pauvreté et à créer des emplois productifs. À cet égard, le groupe africain met un accent particulier sur le nouveau partenariat pour le développement de l'Afrique, NEPAD, en tant qu'initiative qui fait avancer la mise en œuvre du programme de développement économique et social en Afrique. Le groupe africain, tout en convenant qu'il y a lieu de mobiliser des ressources intérieures suffisantes pour promouvoir une croissance inclusive et durable, et que la politique et l'administration fiscale, la gouvernance et les niveaux élevés du travail informel doivent être résolus par les pays, le groupe reste néanmoins préoccupé par le fait que le financement interne ne soit suffisant pour faire face au goulot d'étranglement économique actuel auquel sont confrontés les pays africains. C'est pourquoi il demande la mise en œuvre complète et efficace du programme d'action d'Addis Abeba avec un soutien financier adéquat, cohérent et prévisible, ainsi qu'un environnement politique cohérent et prévisible au niveau national et international. La mise en œuvre de solutions financières novatrices et inclusives exige un leadership proactif, une coordination et des efforts soutenus de la part des gouvernements, du secteur privé et des partenaires au développement. Le groupe appelle ses partenaires à renforcer les efforts de lutte contre les flux financiers illicites en provenance d'Afrique. Le groupe estime en outre qu'il faille mettre l'accent sur le renforcement général des partenariats afin d'assurer des cadres internationaux de soutien pour le commerce, la fiscalité, la technologie et l'atténuation du changement climatique. L'adaptation et la résilience afin de pouvoir soutenir une approche de développement humain à long terme. Et pour ces financements suffisants, prévisibles et bien coordonnés pour le développement, y compris des budgets nationaux, l'aide publique au développement, l'allègement de la dette et les nouveaux instruments, arrangements et institutions de sources de financement, tout cela forme une importance cruciale pour réduire la pauvreté. Monsieur le Président, en conclusion, le groupe s'engage à mettre pleinement en œuvre les engagements du développement social. Le groupe africain note que la disponibilité des communications a connu une croissance soutenue au cours des dernières décennies, sous l'impulsion de l'augmentation des terminaux cellulaires mobiles et plus récemment, la plus grande bande passante disponible, des techniques d'information et de communications avancées, y compris de l'Internet. Cette interconnectivité numérique permet aux personnes de collaborer sans limitation d'espace. Grâce à l'installation de systèmes de transport, d'énergie et de techniques d'information et de communication, les collectivités rurales profiteraient de l'accès au marché, du crédit et aux emplois décents. En Afrique, l'utilisation des technologies de l'information et de la communication, en particulier des communications mobiles, a augmenté à travers le continent. Certes, il est vrai que l'Internet doit encore rattraper le secteur de la téléphonie mobile, mais il y a toutefois des signes encourageants pour que cela se fasse bientôt. La construction de l'infrastructure de connexion nécessaire s'est considérablement développée, en particulier dans les villes, et les appareils numériques deviennent plus abordables. Cependant, le développement des infrastructures et des TIC, le système de transport et d'énergie, doivent être encore mis au niveau et étendus aux zones rurales. En outre, l'alphabétisation générale et les compétences numériques dans l'ensemble de la population doivent être améliorées afin que les pays africains puissent profiter pleinement des avantages de la numérisation. En outre, tout en utilisant ces nouveaux dispositifs technologiques à la recherche d'emplois et de marchés pour leurs produits, les ressortissants africains ont été exposés à des formes modernes d'esclavage. Le groupe est préoccupé par l'utilisation de ces dispositifs numériques à des fins contraires au respect des valeurs de droits de l'homme, à l'égalité, à la non-discrimination et au respect des autres et à la tolérance. Le groupe appelle la communauté internationale, les partenaires et la famille des Nations Unies à renforcer les contrôles et à soutenir la mise en œuvre du plan d'action mondial sur la traite des personnes. Le groupe africain réitère enfin l'exigence de justice aux victimes des violations des droits de l'homme résultant de ces cas, à la lumière de leur vulnérabilité. Ils devraient avoir accès à la justice, à une protection et à des recours efficaces appropriés. Je vous remercie.
Je remercie Son Excellence, Monsieur l'ambassadeur, représentant permanent du Bénin, pour ces déclarations faites au nom des États d'Afrique. J'ai à présent le plaisir et l'honneur de donner la parole à son Excellence Madame Cynthia Mamle Morrison, ministre des questions de genre, de l'enfance et de la protection sociale du Ghana, qui va s'exprimer au nom de la communauté économique des États de l'Afrique de l'Ouest, CEDEAO. Madame la ministre, vous avez la parole.
Mr. Chair, let me begin by congratulating you and the members of your Bureau on your well-deserved election. It is my honor and privilege to also convey to you the best wishes of the authority of the heads of states and governments of Economic Community of West Africa States, ECOWAS, currently chaired by the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. ECOWAS aligns itself with the statement delivered by the delegation of the Republic of Benin on behalf of Africa. Mr. Chair, the theme for this section, addressing inequalities and challenges to social inclusion through fiscal wages and social protection policies, is very important to the ongoing socio-economic transformation taking place in West Africa, the sub-region, since its creation on 28th of May 1975. The Economic Community of West African States has been promoting economic cooperation and regional integration as a tool for an accelerated development of the West African economy. To achieve this objective, the authority adopted a resolution in June 2007 to introduce a transformational ECOWAS Vision 2020. The ECOWAS Vision 2020 is aimed at setting a clear direction and goal to significantly raise the standard of living of the people through conscious and inclusive program that will guarantee a bright future for West Africa and shape the destiny of the region for many years to come. ECOWAS also aligns itself with the Agenda for Sustainable Development and its Sustainable Development Goals, with a pledge to leave no one behind. The 2030 Agenda embodies a vision of a shared future and the societies that are inclusive, just, and equitable, and that of equal opportunities for all to fulfill their full potential in life. Among the 17 Sustainable Development Goals that lie in the heart of its agenda is Goal 10, which seeks to combat inequality within and among countries. The ambitious 2030 Agenda underscores the addressing inequality in all its dimensions. Is critical to making economic growth more inclusive and sustainable, and is essential for eradicating poverty, ensuring shared prosperity, advancing social progress, and achieving sustainable development for all. The World Bank defines social inclusion as a process of improving the forms for individuals and groups to take part in society. World Bank 2030A, individuals take part in society through 3 interrelated domain markets. Example, labor, land, housing, and credit services. For example, electricity, health, education, water, and spaces. Also example, political, cultural, physical, and social. To improve the terms on which people take part in society means to enhance their ability, opportunity, and dignity. Identify as the key driver of social inclusion. Individuals and groups are excluded or included based on their identity. Among the most common group identities resulting in exclusions are gender, race, caste, ethnicity, religion, age, occupational status, location, and disability status. Social exclusions based on such groups' attributes can lead to lower social standings, often accompanied by lower outcomes in terms of income, human capital endowment, access to employment and services, and vice in both national and local decision-making. The mandate to address inequalities and social inclusion in general and through social protection programs specifically are within the scope to work defined for the Departmental of Social Affairs and Gender of the ECOWAS Commission, and therefore, my presentation will focus on the key interventions of the department in the following areas: child protection, gender equality and women empowerment, youth employment, and eradicating statelessness. In West Africa, women are most likely to be poor, marginalized from decision-making processes, unemployed, and doing unpaid work. Similarly, youth unemployment remains a huge challenge in the region. Young women and men, 15 to 35 years, constitute 33% of the populations of the region. However, many of them continue to suffer from poverty, discrimination, inequality, and lack of access to proper education and health services. For this reason, promotion of unemployment, improvement of labor markets, and mobility of skills in the region are major concerns for ECOWAS member states. To address this challenge, the ECOWAS Commission has deployed a Youth Employment Action Plan 2018 to 2022, which aims to facilitate the creation of a suitable economic for job creation and decent work for the member states of the region. Mr. Chair, another issue which threatens the very fabric of our existence is a region with child marriage. While child marriage exists throughout the continent, it is especially prevalent in West Africa, which hosts 6 out of 10 countries with the highest rate of child marriage in the world. Several countries in West Africa sub-region have taken measures to stem this practice, in which 4 in 10 young women were married off as children. Additionally, less than 1 in 2 children in West Africa has a birth certificate, which is their basic right to an identity. In order to tackle the acute vulnerabilities of children in the region, as ECOWAS strategic framework for strengthening national child protection system to prevent and respond to violence, abuse, and child exploitation in West Africa was adopted in October 2017. The framework provides a joint platform for action on the protection priorities of children. Furthermore, the ECOWAS Commission in January 2019 adopted the ECOWAS Child Policy and Strategic Plan of Action, the ECOWAS Roadmap on Prevention and Response to Child Marriage, and the ECOWAS Political Declaration and Common Position Against Child Marriage. Globally, millions of people, including hundreds and thousands in West Africa, are not considered nationals by the state and are thus stateless. This limits their enjoyment of the full range of human rights. To address this challenge, we have also adopted the Banjul Plan of Action on Eradication of Statelessness 2017 to 2024, which builds on the Abidjan Declaration, a historical instrument and a milestone in the fight against statelessness in West Africa. Recognizing the potential of social protection programs to reduce vulnerability and promote social inclusion, the Commission, in collaboration with UNICEF, is also in the process of developing a social protection framework for the region. Mr. Chair, according to the World Social Protection Report 2017 to 2019, social protection coverage in most West African countries is below 10%. This is quite unacceptable, especially if the region is to achieve a sustainable development goal by 2030. The draft ECOWAS protection framework is a key starting point for the collaborative agenda with member countries and partners to maximize social protection as a vehicle for achieving equitable and sustainable development in the region. The framework is built on international and regional standards and commitments, including the premise that member states are committed to implement nationally appropriate social protection systems for all, including flaws to enduring poverty in all its manifestations, including its extreme forms. The framework recommends 4 priority areas to be implemented by member states. They are implementation of inclusive national social protection floors, extension of contributory social insurance mechanism, enhancement of the potential of social protection to build resilience to climate-related risk, and improvement of the role of social protection benefits in humanitarian response. Also worthy of note is the ECOWAS General Convention on Social Protection, which seeks to promote the rights of migrant workers in the formal economy with the support of our partners, especially the International Labour Organization. Gradual progress is being made in the implementation of the convention. Mr. Chair, in conclusion, I wish to assure you and the commitment of the authority of the heads of state and the government of ECOWAS and of the ECOWAS Commission to work assiduously to achieve social development through the implementation of people-oriented programs in spite of their efforts in this regard. Countries in the sub-region will require the support, both technical, financial, and international community for meaningful impact. We therefore wish to call for the continued collaboration and effective partnership to achieve this objective. I thank you all for your kind attention.
Je remercie Son Excellence Madame le Ministre des questions de genre, de l'enfance et de la protection sociale du Ghana pour sa déclaration faite au nom de la CEDEAO. Nous allons à présent entamer les déclarations prononcées au nom des pays. Et à ce titre, voilà, nous sommes toujours, me rappelle le secrétariat, dans les déclarations prononcées au nom des groupes de pays. Et à ce titre, le dernier orateur dans ce groupe, c'est Son Excellence Monsieur Sébastien Villarreal, vice-ministre du Développement social du Chili, qui va se prononcer au nom du groupe des amis des personnes âgées. Monsieur le ministre, j'ai le plaisir et l'honneur de vous donner la parole.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have the pleasure to speak on behalf of the member of the Group of Friends of Older Persons, Argentina, Bolivia, Brazil, Colombia, Costa Rica, the Dominican Republic, Ecuador, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Indonesia, Kenya, Malaysia, Mexico, Panama, Paraguay, Peru, Qatar, Slovenia, South Africa, Trinidad and Tobago, Turkey, Uruguay, and my own country, Chile. At the outset, allow me to congratulate you, Mr. Chair, as well as the other members of the Bureau, for your election to lead the works of the current session of the Commission. We hope it will be a very successful and productive one. Mr. Chair, the increase in the number of older persons globally and the growing trend of aging societies all over the world represent a significant change to the demographic structure of our societies, and while presenting significant opportunities, impose a series of new challenges to development. This reality emphasizes the urgent need to recognize that greater attention needs to be paid to the specific challenges faced by older persons, including in the field of social development. The number of older persons is projected to grow by 46% globally between 2017 and 2030, outnumbering young persons as well as children under 10 years of age, and this increase will be the greatest and most rapid in the developing world. This demographic trend presents both a significant opportunity and a challenge. The opportunity to benefit from the many contributions older persons can make to society. The challenge is to design and implement policies that promote social inclusion, intergenerational solidarity, and the full and effective enjoyment, promotion, and protection of the human rights and dignity of older persons without discrimination of any kind. Furthermore, this reality emphasizes the urgent need to recognize that greater and urgent attention needs to be paid to the specific challenges faced by older persons, and age-sensitive response becomes increasingly vital, including in the field of social development and the social inclusion and integration. In light of the theme of the current session, till addressing inequalities and challenges to social inclusion through fiscal, wage, and social protection policies, it is necessary also to highlight that older persons in all regions can find themselves in vulnerable situations and face the risk of being marginalized, excluded, or exposed to different challenges such as discrimination, violence, abuse, neglect, other disadvantages, and many other multiple barriers. That's why addressing inequality in all its dimension is critical to making economic growth more inclusive and sustainable, and is essential for eradicating poverty, ensuring shared prosperity, advancing social progress, and achieving sustainable development for all. We welcome the fact that this year's priority theme is aligned with the high-level political forum of sustainable development, and reaffirm that we consider that older persons have a role to play in achieving all of the SDGs. For this reason, we call upon all member states to take into consideration the particular needs of older persons in their participation later this year, as well as in the relevant policy planning. Mr. Chair, one of the most pressing challenges to the welfare in older persons is poverty, including the often inadequate living conditions of older persons, homelessness, neglect, abuse, violence, malnutrition, unattended chronic disease, lack of access to safe drinking water and sanitation, and affordable medicines and treatments, and income insecurity are just a few of the most critical human rights issues that a large number of older persons confront on a daily basis. Despite their own poverty, older persons are often called upon to be providers for the household and caregivers for grandchildren and other family members. In that regard, designing and implementing programs and policies, as well as devising adequate legal frameworks that allow the full social inclusion of older persons, as well as their participation in social, economic, cultural, civil, and political life, without any restraints and free from all forms of discrimination and violence, will lead to ensure their dignity, empowerment, and their ability to fully and effectively enjoy their human rights and fundamental freedoms, actively participating in their societies and contributing to their development. Also, it is important to adopt appropriate measures, including, if necessary, legislative measures to promote and protect the right of older persons, and measures aimed at providing economic and social security and health care, the full and equal participation of older persons in the decision-making process. This is the key to achieve success in 2030 agenda and the opportunity to reaffirm the commitment reflected in the political declaration adopted in Madrid in 2002 to respond to the opportunities and challenges of population aging in the 21st century and to promote the development of a society for all ages. Mr. Chair, we recognize that population aging as one of the major trends that are likely to shape the prospect for achieving all of the Sustainable Development Goals, and recognizing also that implementing the priority directions of the Madrid Plan of Action and the relevant regional implementation strategies will help to achieve the goals and contribute to efforts to leave no one behind. Furthermore, we call upon all member states and in the international community to strengthen the further implementation of the Madrid International Plan of Action of Aging in order to achieve its goal and to seize the instrument as a channel for the inclusion of older persons in age-inclusive implementation of the 2030 Agenda and the attainment of the Sustainable Development Goals, including through an integrated and multifaceted approach to improving the well-being and the enjoyment of the rights and dignity of older persons. We encourage member states to formulate and implement pension policies and seek to improve the effectiveness of their social protection and security system, taking into consideration that it is necessary to promote decent work, which will subsequently allow for decent retirement. To conclude, Mr. Chair, the group of friends highlights the importance of having a gender and rights-based perspective on aging in the design and implementation of policies and programs related to the social dimension of sustainable development. The gender and right-based perspective must find its place in the general policy approach for every state to assure inclusive social development. We invite all relevant actors to advance decidedly on including and promoting this perspective at different levels. It is moreover important to indicate that although the implementation of the Madrid International Plan Action on Aging may have positive implication for the enjoyment of some human rights by older persons, the Madrid Plan of Action is a non-legally binding instrument that addressing aging issues mainly from the developmental perspective and that has not been designed to comprehensively address existing protection gap. Therefore, it is not sufficient to ensure the full enjoyment of the human rights of older persons. Furthermore, the progress in its implementation is uneven and gaps between policy and practice remain. Regardless of that fact, we believe that sustainable and adequate social and economic policies for older persons can be achieved through our shared efforts. The international community must work together to ensure the well-being of older persons, while addressing issues related to their social integration and fostering intergenerational partnerships and solidarity in order to achieve the full and effective social development of older persons, with dignity and rights, leaving no one behind. Thank you very much.
Je remercie Son Excellence, Monsieur le Vice-ministre du Développement social du Chili, qui s'est prononcé donc au nom du groupe des Amis des personnes âgées. Comme je l'avais annoncé un peu plus tôt, nous allons maintenant entamer les déclarations prononcées au nom des États. Et j'ai à ce titre le plaisir de donner la parole à Son Excellence Madame Liliana del Carmen La Rosa Huertas, ministre du Développement et de l'Inclusion sociale du Pérou. Madame la ministre, vous avez la parole.
Muy buenas tardes. Hago llegar a cada uno de ustedes el saludo del señor presidente de la República, Martín Vizcarra, en esta 57 sesión de la Comisión de Desarrollo Social de las Naciones Unidas. El Perú felicita el enfoque temático de esta sesión, abordar las desigualdades y los desafíos a la inclusión social a través de políticas fiscales, salariales y de protección social. Esto es justamente lo que hoy está abordando nuestro país directamente. Hoy en el Perú contamos con una política general de gobierno y tenemos como eje una lucha frontal contra la corrupción, que no tiene precedentes. Sabemos que la corrupción hace inviable la democracia, la gobernabilidad y la inclusión. Asimismo, desplegamos esfuerzos para fortalecer y sostener el crecimiento económico con inclusión social y equidad, reduciendo la brecha entre personas, entre territorios y entre grupos sociales. Estas brechas, como las de género, excluyen a las personas del ejercicio de sus derechos ciudadanos y muchas veces ponen en riesgo no solo la esperanza, sino la vida misma. Las políticas del gobierno están llegando a los territorios y a los ciudadanos y ciudadanas de manera articulada entre los sectores y entre los diferentes niveles de gobierno. Un ejemplo claro de los cambios que empiezan a lograrse gracias a este esfuerzo conjunto es el avance contra la anemia infantil, uno de los mayores retos que estamos enfrentando. Desde julio del 2018 contamos con un plan multisectorial de lucha contra la anemia que reúne a 15 ministerios, todos ellos con indicadores precisos. Hemos bajado la incidencia de la anemia entre niños y niñas de 6 a 35 meses de edad de 46.1 a 41.1, del primer a segundo semestre del 2018. Sabemos que este nivel es aún demasiado alto y que es inaceptable, pero ya empezamos a avanzar en la dirección correcta. Por favor, acompáñennos en ese esfuerzo. El Ministerio de Desarrollo e Inclusión Social es el ente rector del desarrollo y la inclusión social en el Perú. Por ello, juega un papel clave en lograr la finalidad de la política de gobierno, es decir, mejorar la calidad de vida de nuestra población, articulando esfuerzos en todos los territorios. Estamos abordando este reto a través de 4 nuevos ejes de política social hacia el año 2030, los cuales incluyen la construcción de un sistema de protección social concebido como inversión y no como gasto, como responsabilidad del Estado, responsabilidad compartida con el empresariado, los trabajadores y todos los actores sociales. En la nueva política nacional que estamos validando, articularemos y orientaremos desde el MIS la construcción de un sistema de protección social basado en derechos fundamentales y que proteja a todos y todas durante todas las etapas del ciclo de vida, incluso frente a las emergencias y desastres relacionados con el cambio climático. Tener hogares protegidos es un elemento imprescindible para luchar de manera sostenible contra la pobreza monetaria que sigue afectando a más de 1 de cada 5 peruanos. Y también para reducir ese tercio de nuestra población que es vulnerable a caer en la pobreza. En este tema estamos avanzando hacia la adopción de una medición multidimensional y multicultural de la pobreza en el Perú, para atacarla de manera más integral y abordar las barreras de la exclusión que redundan en la pobreza. La perspectiva de protección social que estamos promoviendo está alineada con lo establecido en la Agenda 2030 y también con la iniciativa del Piso de Protección Social de la ONU, así como otras recientes iniciativas del Banco Mundial y la OIT, que buscan universalizar la protección social y romper la transmisión intergeneracional de la pobreza. ¿Por qué estamos iniciando esta renovación de la política social? Consideramos que debemos revertir la reciente desaceleración de avances en inclusión, desarrollo y pobreza que registra el Perú y también el resto del mundo en el periodo posterior a la bonanza económica. Asimismo, debemos terminar de cerrar las persistentes e inmorales brechas de género territoriales, especialmente las rural-urbana y socioculturales, entre otras, así como la desconexión entre las intervenciones sociales y la inclusión económica y desarrollo productivo de las personas en pobreza o vulnerabilidad. El Perú ha cambiado mucho en la última década. Hoy debemos enfrentar nuevos desafíos. Aumentó la pobreza urbana y la población vulnerable a caer en la pobreza. El censo del 2017 nos ha revelado que el país está atravesando importantes cambios culturales y demográficos, incluyendo la conformación de nuestras familias, el reconocimiento de 48 lenguas originarias, el gradual despoblamiento de algunas áreas de la sierra rural, donde la pobreza estructural es más severa del país. La migración internacional por la crisis humanitaria en Venezuela, el crecimiento de la población joven y el envejecimiento, la visibilización y la urgente garantía de derechos para nuestros pueblos originarios, las mujeres, la población LGTB, los afroperuanos, los migrantes. Nuevos desafíos suponen, entre otras cosas, nuevas políticas. Para concluir, quiero destacar que es un honor para mí ser parte de esta sesión. Hagamos que el diálogo que tengamos traiga las voces y miradas de nuestros conciudadanos que viven la injusticia, la pobreza y la exclusión y podamos construir propuestas que tejan más esperanza, más Estado garante de derechos, más desarrollo respetuoso de nuestra tierra y de todos los seres vivos, más igualdad desde la equidad y desde la celebración de nuestra profunda, diversa humanidad. Muchas gracias.
Je remercie Son Excellence Madame le ministre du Développement et de l'Inclusion sociale du Pérou. Je voudrais, avant de continuer, remercier très sincèrement les interprètes qui ont accepté de nous accorder généreusement 10 minutes supplémentaires après 13 heures. Donc je voudrais les remercier très sincèrement au nom de vous tous. Je vais maintenant donner la parole à Son Excellence Madame Cynthia Mamle Morrison, ministre des questions de genre, de l'enfance et de la protection sociale, qui cette fois va parler au nom du Ghana. Vous avez la parole, Madame la ministre.
Thank you. Honorable Chair, I bring you warm greetings from the Republic of Ghana and our President, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. It is a pleasure to be here once again for the 57th section of the Commission of Social Development on the theme Addressing Inequalities and Challenges to Social Inclusion through Fiscal Wages and Social Protection Policies. Mr. Chairman, I wish to inform you that in Ghana, major strides and efforts have been made towards the reduction of poverty and eradication of extreme poverty. The Ghanaian economy expanded by 8.5% in 2017, and extreme poverty was reduced from 8.4% in 2013 and 14 to 8.2% in 2016 and 17. Ghana, since 2008, has been implementing social protection interventions to address situations of poverty, inequalities, and promote inclusive and sustainable economic growth. Ghana is working to pass the following to ensure sustainability of social protection initiatives and systems to promote inclusive economic growth: Social Protection Bill, Aged Persons Bill, School Feeding Bill, and Affirmative Action Bill. The Ghana National Social Protection Policy outlines 5 flagship initiatives: Livelihood Empowerment Against Poverty Program, Ghana School Feeding Program, National Health Insurance Scheme, Labor Intensive Public Work, Education Capitation Grant. The Ghana Cash Transfer Program, dubbed Livelihood Empowerment Against Poverty, now covers about 407,655 beneficiary households, which translates to 1,781,877 individuals. Impact studies conducted by ISA in collaboration with University of North Carolina and UNICEF on the program indicates improvement in school enrollment, 12% food security, and 65% investment in productive inclusion and livelihoods, 63% social integration, access to healthcare, and among others. Starting this year, under the Ghana Productive Safety Net project, supported by the World Bank, Ghana will be rolling out productive inclusion strategy to provide and support graduated beneficiaries of LEAP with livelihood activities coupled with training, coaching, mentoring, as set up capitals to enable the beneficiaries engage in more productive livelihood and high market viability. The Ghana School Feeding Program also targets all government schools in deprived communities. This program, among other things, seeks to promote school enrollment as well as boosting local economy. Currently, about 2.8 million people benefit from the program. This has created market and employment for several farmers and caterers in the respective implementation districts and communities. The National Health Insurance Scheme, which seeks to, among other things, provide equitable access to basic health care services to Ghana citizens, has active membership coverage of about 10.6 million, which includes indigents of 358,000 who are mostly LEAP beneficiaries. The LEAP Intensive Public Work has also provided temporary employment, that is cash for work, to about 167,233 beneficiaries, majority being women, and has created a lot of social infrastructure in the remote rural areas such as feeder roads, small-scale dams, and dugout wells. Other government flagship social protection initiatives like the Free School, Senior High School, Planting for Food and Jobs are being implemented. These initiatives are all geared towards reducing poverty and vulnerability, bridging the inequality gap, as well as ensuring inclusive national development. Mr. Chairman, addressing inequalities and challenges also require innovative and robust social protection systems and institutional structures, as well as strong political commitment. The following are being implemented: the Ghana National Household Registry to establish a database of households from which all social protection programs in Ghana will be selected, their respective beneficiaries. The Single Window Citizens Engagement Service that seeks to provide a single contact point for all citizens, including beneficiaries of various social protection programs, to enable them to file complaints, make requests, and obtain information about available social intervention. Notwithstanding the major strides Ghana has chalked in administering social protection systems initiatives, key challenges like inadequate funds as well as sustainable financial systems for delivering social protection poses a threat. Though government of Ghana and development partners are striving to finance these interventions, there still remains a huge financial gap that needs to be filled. Mr. Chairman, in conclusion, Ghana is committed to applying international protocols to enhance our social protection systems, to addressing poverty and inequality. The government of Ghana will continue to fulfill its international reporting and review obligations under both UN and African Union commitments. We invite partnerships on this bold and significant journey. There is, therefore, the need for collaboration at all levels and experience sharing among member states. I thank you for your attention.
Je vous remercie, Madame la Ministre, pour votre intervention, Madame la Ministre du Ghana. Je donne maintenant la parole à Son Excellence Madame Beat Hatting-Klein, Ministre fédérale du Travail et des Affaires sociales, de la Santé et de la Protection des consommateurs d'Autriche. Vous avez la parole, Madame la Ministre.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Austria fully supports the statement by the representative of Romania on behalf of the EU. Combating poverty and social inclusion are key elements of both the 23rd Agenda and the SDGs. From the very beginning on, Austria has been committed to these goals, as they are vital to improving people's lives around the globe within the next few years. So what is Austria doing to promote social inclusion and address inequalities? The Austrian government is planning to adopt a new basic law on the minimum income scheme. It will promote justice and fairness and significantly increase protection to accuracy. This means more social assistance for persons with disabilities, those in need of care or single parents. On the other hand, we are linking benefits even more closely to people's willingness to participate in the labor market and thus to integrate into society. Sustainable pensions are key to preventing poverty and social inclusion. Austria's contribution-based pay-as-you-go pension system focuses on covering the entire working population. Our priority is to raise the effective retirement age while closing pathway to early retirement. To prevent old age and poverty, we have continuously increased low pension above the inflation rate. The guaranteed minimum pension for people who have accumulated 40 years of contribution payments will also be increased. In Austria, measures aimed at reducing poverty focus on raising employment levels and quickly integrated people into the labor market. At the European level and during its EU Council presidency in the second half of last year, Austria also placed a clear focus on the challenges and the opportunities for the labor market arising from digitalization. Particular attention was paid to labor and social law protection of workers in the context of new forms of work. Active labor market policies provide tailor-made, personalized employment programs specifically directed at young people in transition from school to work, lower-skilled people, motherhood retiring, the labor market people with disabilities for the elderly, etc. We will also lower unemployment insurance contribution for low and middle-income earners. This will be benefit up to 900,000 people. Austria is making intensive efforts towards reducing people tax burden. The new introduced Family Bonus Plus thus offers to tax relief of up €1,500 per child per year. Long-term care benefits for older people and people in need to care will increase their independence and enable to remain longer in their family environment. This earmarked benefit covers our care-related additional expenses. Ladies and gentlemen, let me now focus on the individual groups and how the Austrian government seeks to promote them. First, persons with disabilities. Implementing the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, Austria introduced the first National Action Plan on Disabilities in 2012. We are working on the second National Action Plan for the 2021 and to 2030. It's part of the Austrian government's program, fully in the line with the UN Convention, linked to the SDGs, and covers all aspects of life and the entire social protection system. The goal is to enhance inclusion both at work and in everyday life. The current National Action Plan will be evaluated this year, by the end of 2020. The goals, objectives, initiators, measures, and for the new NAP are developed in an inclusive and participatory process. Second point, aging. Active participation of older persons is essential to ensure social inclusion. The Senior Citizen Council, which represents the interest of 1/4 of our population, ensures that their voice is heard. We focus on reducing inequalities, preventing social isolation, and fostering social inclusion. Activities launched aim to promote healthy and active aging, health literacy, and caring communities. Our volunteer centers foster the participation of young and older people in community-based activities. Ensuring dignity and the end of the person's life is high value to our society. We have thus increased funding for hospice and palliative care and launched an awareness-raising campaign to address the taboo subject of violence against older people. A national quality certificate for nurseries homes was introduced and improve working conditions of caregivers and promote older people quality of life. Promoting the human rights of older persons is another focus. Last November, Austria organized an international expert conference in human rights and older people that dealt with digitalization, robotics, automatics, artificial intelligence, and their implication for the human rights of older persons. The conference declaration outlines the potential human rights-related benefits risk posed by technology developments and the need to ensure full participation of older persons. It will be presented at the next session of the open-end working group on aging this April. Third point, families. Families are the core of our society. The social, cultural, and economic importance is undisputed. Public policy needs to create appropriate conditions for families, enable them to fulfill their societal potential, and provide the best possible infrastructure and in financial security. We are committed to improving the work-family-life balance for both men and women. Under the Companies for Families network, family-friendly conditions at the workplace are promoted as a competitive business advantage. In addition to the financial benefits, Austria has expanded the range of child care services based on an established system of parental leave regulation. Up to 3 years and leave per child are possible. First, for youth, Austria is committed to UN World Programme of Action for Youth and EU Youth Strategy, and has developed a national youth strategy that focuses on the four areas of action: employment and education, participation and engagement, quality of life, and living together media information. Policies and their effectiveness are optimized for the benefits of young people. By actively Engaging with stakeholders and experts, the strategy is continuously further developed, provides guidance and services, a reference to address challenges. Austria is among the few countries that have lowered the active voting age to 16, thus increasing young people opportunities to make their voice heard and contribute to shaping their future and present. We believe that early inclusion is an institutionalized participation system results in enhanced participation in political decision-making processes. Austria started implementing its education and training guarantee some years ago. In connecting with digitalization and increasing focus is being placed in educational content. Every young person up to the age of 18 who is interested in entering training is entitled to an apprentice place. Since last year, every youth who has no complete education or training must continue up to the age of 18. There's also a mandatory impact assessment to all legislative projects. In order to ensure that the Federal Constitution Act on the Rights of Children and the UN Convention of the Rights of Child are implemented to the full extent and benefit of children and young people. Civil servants must put themselves into young people's position when preparing laws. By the empowering young people, I enable them to participate in the decision-making process. We aim to combat inequality and promote inclusion and equality. Thank you for your attention.
Je vous remercie, Madame le ministre fédéral du Travail et des Affaires sociales, de la Santé et la protection des consommateurs d'Autriche. Nous venons d'entendre la dernière oratrice inscrite pour la séance de ce matin. Conformément à l'organisation de nos travaux, le débat général consacré aux alinéas A et B du point 3 se poursuivra demain, 12 février, dans l'après-midi, à 15h. Cet après-midi, à 15h précise, la Commission tiendra la première des 4 tables rondes prévues. Encore une fois, merci infiniment aux interprètes pour leur compréhension. La séance est levée.